Welcome to Starfinder, the Fragments of Eternity, session 69, everybody. 69.
Nice.
Nice. Thank you. I was really hoping somebody would say that. It's the 21st of September 2020, and who among us haven't... Never mind. So, I'm Ryan, the GM. Here are the players.
Who goes first? Is it me?
Yeah.
I'm minimized Discord. Hi, I'm Alex. I play Weird, the android mechanic.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Nico. I'm Nico. And I'm Queen Sora, the best cap.
Hello, I am Colin, and I am playing Lyco Quint. He is your resident
Evil.
spooky boy.
That's true.
Space cop.
And we don't
Ghost.
have
Ghost.
a Callum, sadly.
He died.
He did. He died of a broken heart. He did.
I mean, I guess
Wow.
now it did. So, poor calamity.
This ain't a song for the broken heart.
Rip, Callum, I guess. Sorry, bud. I tried, I think. Did I though?
Ripperino.
And got so far.
That's
Yeah.
the pepperoni.
Let me just add
Like
this.
cooked the meatball.
Look at the meatball.
So, what do you remember from last time?
Conspiracies.
Absolutely nothing.
Wheels within wheels. Time is a beige triangle.
Right. So... Wait,
Why?
Colin found some data. Did we get a stick for CC yet what the data was all about?
Wait, at the very end it arrived,
Right, okay.
but it was in Vesk.
Right, that's right, it was in Vesk, that's right, I'm forgetting about that part, yeah, it's in Vesk, right. Found some spherical canisters with
Cylindrical, yeah. Spherical,
Yeah.
like
I thought
balls.
it was spheres. I thought they were balls.
So there were
Balls,
spheres inside the cylinders.
Right, cool.
Red
So,
spheres, yeah.
cool.
Like
Um,
snooker balls.
but basically, it was like the foam that was coming out of the DDs,
Mhm.
and they were in a vest crate. Yeah.
And the crate was sealed by the. Well, sealed by the. It was opened by the handprint of the captain.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I suppose it was probably sealed by it too.
Mm.
What have you been up to?
Mm.
Well, investigating. I did a lot of sleuthing.
Vesk. The gating.
Mhm.
No,
Strong yes,
no,
as a counter.
no circumstances. Yeah, we did some sleuthing around the ship and discovered many things. Like the crew that we found didn't seem to match up with the manifest, which is fine because espionage, subterfuge, skullduggery, all words I said at some
Vespionage.
point.
Yep.
Subterfuge, skull vestry. Now, what also was concerning is that we found Shakos. Shakos had locked herself into a cell. Why is there a cell? It was sort of, Ryan indicated that perhaps don't read too much into it. It might not always be easy to retrofit the ships and blah, blah, blah. So, anyway, she'd hidden herself in there, and she said that the vest came on board and something happened. Not clear. She's a bit shaken. But what she did say is that some of the bodies which had animated, as best she could tell, were not their crew. So, we have some bodies which it appears definitely are. And we have her. But it doesn't actually seem like we have most of the crew. It seems almost like the zombies were brought on board. Which is curious. And the Vesk technology, which is used to house the stuff, was opened by a steward handprint. And he was composing an email referring to the fact that they had the stuff and they knew about it. Seemingly, anyway. We'll go through the data and find out. But it really, forgive me, it really isn't clear why exactly things went wrong. It seems like that stuff got out of the containment in one of the capsules in the med lab or med bay or med hole. As we observed earlier, right? That seems to have happened. And that presumably led to the crystallization of those individuals who died in that manner and the suicide of one of the other individuals who didn't want to go in that manner. And probably the zombifications of others. And I wondered if perhaps the zombified ones were already dead before they became infected by the stuff or something like that. Like perhaps the Vesk came on board, dumped some bodies, but that's a very weird roundabout way to go about things. But then this particular group do seem to be working with Tectalanis. So weird science is perhaps to be expected. But all in all, we really don't know who we can trust, and we only have a loose idea of what happened. And we are currently going through a bit of tension because Shakos is obviously a little upset about being in the company of a Vesk at the moment.
Yeah. He kind of has a gun pointed at me.
Yeah.
Kinda yes and kinda no, right? Like they're casually
Kinda.
pointed in your direction. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And there may or may not be a finger on the trigger.
It's like an Interrobang, right? Sponsored by Interrobang. Oh dear. So, yeah. Anything else you think, Nico, that Colin might have missed? Or be good?
Can't really think. Much else. It's a lot covered.
Medical data was transferred onto the captain's thing as well, so that's among the data that CC has just sent back to us. You were narratively excused for about half the time fixing the ship, and other times you were basically doing stuff off screen to facilitate us doing things on screen.
Oh, I fixed it. Is it fixed?
No.
That's the next question.
I mean, it's hard to say if it was ever truly broken. You know?
Hard to say what's come over. There we go.
So,
No more demand.
you may have noticed as well, or you may not have. It's entirely open, and that's where I end that conversation. No, I'm kidding. So I updated the goals screen.
Yes, I saw this.
It's now got new colours.
Yeah, I try to keep your colours as like vivid and different as my eyes were able to handle. So I got rid of like the bright burning pink and like retina soaring green.
I like the old setup, I'll be honest with you.
I'm sure you did, but I fixed a lot of it, like how more apes somehow snuck its way in. Somehow.
That wasn't me.
I have my guesses.
I honestly don't think we really know who did it. I just liked it a lot, so I made it my name.
But regardless, it's been tidied up as best I can. There were some goals that didn't have colours at the left, the ideas side, but I have updated this that there are general goals in the middle, right? They're in grey.
Okay.
Right, the combat goal and the level goal bar are purely there so that we can just copy paste them over with ease. Right? And then the grey ones are standard goals that everybody still makes. And now everybody has access to personal goals at the top.
So cool. I've moved one over.
Yeah, sure. If you want that in straight away, why not?
I'll just go straight to killing some gods.
If you go over to the right of this, you'll see the colour key in case you forget what colour you're supposed to be. You can just copy paste it.
Can I change my colour, please?
It depends very strongly on what.
Oh, okay. Doesn't matter.
I see.
Those preferably, it would seem.
What was your colour going to be?
It was going to be a combination of colours, really.
No. It's a combination of N and O. In that order.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Yeah, this is my preferred like mess. I was tempted to make the whole thing monochrome, and I thought, no, I like seeing the different colours of who's actually put what goals where, because it does look like if there was a battle royale, Zig definitely loses the goal fight. Not necessarily the goal ideas fight, but the actual getting the goals done.
Accomplishing something.
Yeah, no shade.
No
Zig.
shade.
No
I
shade,
don't
Zig.
shade.
So, does anybody have any personal goals that they can think of at the moment that they wouldn't mind slotting in?
For the game, or
I mean, because I want to reinforce the design of this being personal goals can still be something like salvage the key Valari, right? But it can't be in both personal and general. So
Yeah.
this basically gives you double the amount of possible goals you can complete. It's just that, obviously not quite exactly double because there's 4 of you, but you get what I mean. It's a way of not feeling like you're taking up precious goal slots with your own personal drive.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good way. I've done this for my other games as well to see how it works out.
So our current ones are pure,
It
blah,
really
blah,
does
blah,
depend on
salvage.
what I did next, because I still want to get Ivan back.
I mean that's in the ideas list, right? We'd spoke about the Ivan thing about how that's maybe still once the Kivalari stuff's wrapped up.
It
just depends how much you say.
Wrapped up midway through a session, though.
My recommendation would be to try and have things slotted if possible. Like for example, I see that Weird has put in one which is established cybernetics business. Which is good.
I'm just gonna put in like retrieve Ivan now, just for putting it. You never know, we could get through this in 2 seconds and then my back might show up like halfway through, right? And I get me Ivan.
Rolls out of a cupboard or something.
If we're going slightly longer term with the personal goals, that might be a smart thing to do. Like have general goals, things we could maybe knock out in a few sessions.
They could even be things that help you chip away at your personal goals, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't mind if you still do the same process of like everybody takes a general goal each vibe that you were doing. I just want to move away from that because it felt like it was very much a, the onus was on individual people, and I want the goals are meant to be group goals. Yeah.
I think what next protocol would probably be after like versus is maybe like looking at the Eox thing. So maybe when I start getting set up for the Eox, like that was one of your ideas for a goal. One.
It is literally in the ideas list, yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing is, I think my sort of immediate goal at the moment, one of them at least, is to sort of I'm not quite sure how to put it, but like. He certainly wants to investigate what the hell's happening with the stewards.
Yes, but that's already a general goals, really. I guess with the complicity.
I think a lot of that. I was gonna say a lot of that depends on that first card falling over, right? Which is the Babak one.
Yeah.
When that gets flipped and you see what's happening, you can then maybe like.
I'm not sure I can settle on one right now.
It's okay. Yeah, like. It's purely just I wanted to give you the option because I changed the system right at the start.
Is it perhaps something we could revisit at the end of the session?
Yeah, completely. Like goals are still only going to be done at the end of the session. It's just because I made a change to them that I'm talking about at the start of this one. But yeah, generally I want to do goals at the end because, as I said, it gives me the most time to actually work on it, which is reasonable. You've obviously got that. I want you to fix it though, so it's an actual goal, Nico. Because it needs to be something that we understand the complete definitive closure of, and yeah. I don't mind if your ideas list is nonsense as hell, but if it's slotted, I'm taking what's slotted if I've agreed to it. So if we're dealing with Ivan, make sure it is updated. Poor Ivan.
Should be getting tortured right now, people.
And like, I feel like we all know that I'm just going to put a question mark in Ziggs because that's probably as much progress as he's is he gonna do? Right, let's face it.
Tonight, I would suggest that he'll probably not do any progress.
Well, joke's on you,
Or
because
maybe.
here he... No, it's not coming. You do have a bunch of listed ones, as well. I take it none of them are particularly high demand for you at the moment.
I mean, I do, but I'm just not sure what should be the next.
Weirdly, you could probably put yours in a better order, right? Because they're almost a quest chain at the moment. Because ignoring the one that I've that's highlighted, which is gather in turn to pursue next objective, right?
I didn't write that. I'm sure of it.
So that one, which is meant to be intel, I think. And then you've got gather information in aid of taking down Himani, and then you've got pursue new source of Bri information. Well, the Bri information is probably going to come from Sindile if you do the Yox mission.
Yeah.
So those two are at least linked. And obviously you've got at the end, I color coded it for you, the suit that allows Lyco's arm blades.
Yeah.
Because Wolverining that up ain't good. Yeah, you maybe want to go through the ideas and filter out the ones that are no longer relevant as well at one point, because there's probably a lot in there that don't matter anymore, quite frankly. Let's face it, the dignified burial of Escape maybe is still relevant. She might die again, but until then.
I still need to deal with where her body is as well.
Thing is, right, so she hasn't yet, right? Because remember, she was very vehemently for that.
Body.
Then the egg thing kind of took her priority, right? Yeah. So she's had access to the Queen for quite a bit, right? And it is in her vault, so but that hasn't come up, which is interesting. Right, probably blame Zig for all that. Probably.
I always do.
Yeah, it's the easiest way, right? It's like if you weren't to blame for it, you probably will be to blame for it.
He will have was to blame for it.
Mm-hmm. Eventually win.
What's a Zig?
Yeah, exactly. Right, okay, I think that's enough nonsense chat about golds then. At least we've all got thoughts and theories, unless you were typing something, Colin, which I don't think you were. You
I
just,
do not.
just have your box highlighted.
That's
okay.
Oh, I do. I'm going to highlight. Yeah, that box.
Hell yeah! Oh dear. So anyway, let's I guess just jump back into the game. Do you want the ship up, I guess? Is that a good screen to be on? Why not? It's nice for a wee visual prompt. And I think
It is the ship of my dreams. No, it's just a ship.
It's a sheep of your dreams.
What is the ship of your dreams?
I don't dream about ships.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
just nudge
Weird.
this a bit. It's a bit. Right, okay. I guess we open up on whatever Weird's doing. On his lonesome. On the Kivalari.
I am. Where am I?
I put you in the engine room.
That makes sense.
It felt right,
Last minute scans for greys.
You open the engine panel, it's just 17 packed in greys.
That's how it works.
Yep.
I always wondered how a jump drive works.
That's how you get into drift space, right? You have to phase into it.
No, I will. Is the engine all working? Have I been working on that?
Why don't you give me an engineering check and we'll see how the diagnostic went.
I just need to open my character sheet.
It does, and actually roll a skill check. I know.
Wow.
What's this?
It's like the first 3 sentences of a game and you're rolling with this.
I know.
What do you want me to roll? Culture.
It's right.
No, but I'm going to try and get 69 dice rolls in tonight, so let's go for it. Let's.
Nice.
69 dice
Yeah.
rolls.
So that's like 40 that I rolled.
Oofed. So, right, I think with that, the ship for the most part, right, is flyable, right? It's not in any way a write-off. You'll need to spend time which you can do, to look over the place. And we can say that most of that's been done, right, as of last session, because of, narrative jank, hence why you were maybe off comms for a good bit. But you'll basically have worked your way around all of the ship to check that all of like the right panels and all the kind of surge protectors and things, so that when you hit the on and go button, it doesn't just explode because of, assuming it was all working. And also just to make sure nobody's rigged it to do anything else, right? Because obviously, as you can imagine, the ship floating in the middle of nowhere, maybe certain things have protocols like, if stolen by pirates, please blow me up, So, yeah, we can say that most of that has been done, because a 40 is a pretty good roll, right? That's good. It's like a strong start. But yeah, to actually get the thing up and running, you may need parts from the other ships, right?
Yep.
Just to make sure that everything's got the proper redundancies. The other ships either will have the spare parts, or you can like cannibalize not important things, because you do have like 2 shuttles and 2 spaceships to pull from.
Excessive ship.
Yeah, so you can definitely cannibalize like a handful of parts from them and work on this.
Doing with the ship again.
So we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
What you can do as well is, if you involve more people in this process, like your actual mechanics teams, then it will be reduced dramatically in time, because CC is very good with electronics and computers, and you know that Alice is also very good at, well, most things that isn't speaking to people normally. Like beyond that, like Isabel's good, but Isabel's kind of busy at the moment as well. But she could probably help if you require, like if you pulled her into that team,
Yeah, I don't think I would.
Yeah, like as I said, it's just you've got those people, and it depends. Like you could easily like wrangle Alice and CC, but that would be wrangling. But it will help. It won't, like, overall it's a net profit, right?
But Weird isn't the most people-y person.
Yeah, but you are the type of person that would report in your findings.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Alice to wrangle CC. Figuring that she'll jump to it with enthusiasm, which Weird could not muster.
Because have you witnessed any of Alice and CC's interactions? Because I feel like you've been watching a different show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fine.
But yeah, if you can relay all that back to like your immediate people if you wish.
Yes. Weird is not a people manager, so he will ask Alice to please gather CC. And
remember, Alice isn't looped in your local comms.
Who is?
It's just your your local peoples here.
Okay.
I'm going to move Zig onto the shuttle as well, because I feel like we relegated him to moving supplies onto the shuttle from like the medical supplies, and I feel like it's kind of feels like child labour if we keep him doing that in the background. So I think
that'll learn him good.
No, it won't. You know it won't. He'll end up falling through a crate of time, and yeah. But yeah, like you've got comms to everybody on the away team and the shuttle. The shuttle has the tight beam, remember? From the shuttle to the Azure Flare, and them to the final hour. So the comms are still all dark at the moment in terms of ship to ship. So you would need to talk to your away team, as it were.
Yeah, so I send a message to SK
Okay.
to please get in touch with them.
Okay, so what is it you're actually saying? Just get in touch?
Can you ask Alice to gather CC and bring him over here, along with this list of parts? Please.
I think
We have a lot of work to do.
she looks over and she goes, so it seems okay, but it's flyable?
We shouldn't die.
Is all you get, I think, back on comms. And obviously I assume everybody else heard that, because like Isabel's in the room, right, well, the shuttle right next to all you guys, given that scene. So Isabel just looks.
If this is happening immediately afterwards, then presumably, but
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, you've just, like, had, like, the information, right? You're probably staring at
I'm
the
probably
console.
reading it at this particular moment. Yeah.
So, like, I would say that happened, and then you've noticed, oh, this is all in Vesk, as it all, like, translates from its coding bullshit, its wingdings, right? As it translates from wingdings to Vesk, you've noticed that, and that's where Isabel has had this con, like, almost side by side, narratively. And then I think she's just going to hand the... you're probably closest to her, Lyko, but I think she's just going to hand it to, like, Zora. Like, the communication from it, like, the list of stuff from Weird.
I'm an important man.
Because mostly because it involves taking bits out of the ships, so you know, and the Queen's ship.
Didn't notice knowing that there's a gun pointing at me.
It depends though, because it's not like, remember we described, like, it's like her, like, with her legs up on the sofa, like, pulled up, like, with her arms around it, but one of her hands is like, the gun's lying sideways on the couch, but her hand's on it, and it's obviously pointed at you, but it's not like raised in the air pointed at you. It's just, if you made a move, she could pull the trigger and likely hit you, right?
Yeah.
She's playing that, look, I'm armed, but I'm not really a threat, but I'm armed.
Kind of just like take the pad, you know, and then just kind of like just get it, get a side look at it, keep on looking at it, get a read.
Mm-hmm. And it's like it's about, like, you know, a full day of work, like, non-stop. It's like 24 hours if we're going to use our clocks, right? Like, it's about 24 hours worth of work if Weird does it himself. And it involved ripping stuff out of the other ships. The ships can survive, right? Like, it's all stuff that logically makes sense that you could take to make sure this thing didn't just explode randomly. Even though it shouldn't, but Weird's being cautious and wants to replace things that are worth replacing in case they've been tampered with.
I mean, I'm not a mechanical type, so I can't help you.
I just you saying this to Isabel or Weird?
Just general, because I don't know the plan yet, right?
I mean, I feel like you heard the calm.
Right, well, yeah, I guess I would say it out loud then. Just kind of say it aloud. So, up data pads.
I feel like this is the session everybody forgot how to roleplay. Are we all good? Do we need a warm up? But yeah. So Isabel just looks and goes, okay. And then just nods slowly. And kind of just looks between, obviously, the people on the shuttle. And then turns to Lyko and says, anything interesting? And obviously
That's a good question.
yeah, right. And then we get the exposition bullshit. So, out of all the things going on, right? What particular subject do you want information on first? Right? This is the way I want to do this. So,
Okay, that's a good question.
because I made a list of things that are likely to care about.
Probably security or medical.
Okay, so pick one. We'll go for it.
Let's say medical.
Cool. So, the medical data that you got from, obviously, like, the med beds, right, were stored there. There were 4 people scanned on med beds. Like, all human, right?
Yeah.
And they went through that same process that you've witnessed, right? So, red foaminess, and then some crystallized. And it's inconclusive as to why, like, 2 of them crystallized and, like, 2 of them didn't. But the information on 2 of them didn't is literally just an absence of information, right? There's no entry on, they then became zombies and walked about.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a medbed, it's not like a narrator, sadly. But yeah, so there were 2 of them that had crystallized, that weren't good. None of them are on the crew roster.
Right, that's what I was going to ask next.
Yes.
Okay. So we have some extras. Extra bodies, all human, not on the roster. Okay.
Yep. Also, can you roll perception for me, or
Certainly.
whatever you feel like is an investigatory?
Well, I think perception's probably a strong one.
Yep.
27.
I actually went to like find out where that roll went because normally I have the chat popped out, so I've got it visible at all times, and I hadn't. There we go. Cool. 27. So you can tell the way the data's been organized on the pad, and not just the way CC has sent it back. The data's been like saved in an easily like purgeable drive, if that makes sense. Like these are files that it would take you a while to get into, and if it detected any sneaky decryption, they would have purged. So it's almost like this was sensitive data.
Okay.
Which is obviously kind of makes sense, right? Right, next topic.
Well, next it would have to be security.
Okay. Anything specific about security?
So, any events really that would be out of the normal, anything that would flag up as like there was a breach or
Yeah, so we'll go for like
unauthorized
sensor log
activity
type
wide.
stuff as well, right? We'll throw it all
Yeah.
into one because it's all kind of like part of the same thing. Any kind of day-to-day reports, as it were.
Basically, when did things that weren't supposed to be in the ship come onto the ship? Where did they come from, etc., etc.
Okay, so for that, the security footage of the ship has been wiped. It has been forwarded on to like a listing post and wiped, and that is something that like
I knew it wouldn't be that easy.
yeah, because then there's no puzzle, right? It's just me talking for like an hour about what happened. But also for the narrative reasons, it's because obviously it gives away potential undercover agents and all that jazz,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, like actual security footage is going to be a rare thing in every RP, I imagine. So unless it's justifying the James bullshit. So besides that, that's a thing. The sensor logs had picked up a small ship, right? The ship seemed to be designed to ghost most sensors, right? Because it was like very unusual geometry. The ship had 4 people on board.
Human? Could it tell that?
It could only tell that it had 4 life signs on board. It's
Okay.
a small ship, hence like the strange geometry of the ship design, which threw off their sensors, and it only because of the way the Kevalaria was built was it able to even spot them in the first place, because it was designed to go spot things that were hard to notice, right? So, good sensors on this ship. And if we're building this ship with statistics, remind me I said this, right? That it has good
Yeah.
sensors. Because that is important when you're building this thing mechanically. Besides that, I try to think what else is relevant to the security stuff. If you can think of anything specific to guide my answers, feel free to go
I
ahead.
would be interested to see, so events in terms of like entry.
Okay.
Any sort of indication of non crew anything really. Like I'd be intrigued actually to know when Shakos went into the cell, for instance, as well. That'd be something I think.
Yeah, so the log there is that the door was like fused shut, right? It's been like sabotaged so that it wouldn't open from the outside.
Mhm.
Hence why SK had to like, or Isabella should say, had to like jank it to open it.
Yeah.
So that's logged as Shakos doing that, and that they would need to, like, the captain would need to resolve that. This is specifically like a captain's entry that has said this. But that isn't a priority. Getting the ship up and running is a priority. Right? It's like, if she's stuck in there, that's fine. At least we know she's stuck in there.
So the captain's still making logs after she's in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So
as we discovered, she hadn't seen any of this happen, so she
Mhm.
seems to have gone in. This creates a different narrative. They took something off the Vesk they shouldn't have.
So, other things. Any particular other subjects or other security-based questions? Keep in mind, MD can ask these questions, by the way. It's not just Lyco that needs to ask these questions. As players,
so
I mean.
In terms of the Vesk, is there any evidence of Vesk arriving on board?
Yes, there is. The Vesk rendered assistance to this vessel, according to the captain's log.
Was it requested?
It was not requested, but it was welcomed by the captain.
Okay.
The entry, as I said, written in Vesk, actually details the fact that an Obsidian Star vessel had docked and has taken the crew to the nearest facility for medical treatment. The captain stayed
Any
on
record
board.
of why they required treatment?
Yes. The infection of the red foam.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They provide any details of what they believed it to be or its origin?
Yes. A bioweapon that was being sold by the individuals on the vessel that was found. It was believed that they were going to make a weapons sale in the diaspora, and that they were intercepted, and that there was an accident that the people on the medbay obviously had then, in a attempted escape of custody, then caused the entire infection on the ship. Because obviously when you get some dodgy cylinders with some red snicker balls in them, you're going to want to study them, right?
Yes.
And then they had one of these cylinders in the med lab, then there was a bit of a kerfuffle.
Is there any record of the captain setting up his print as the code for it? Is there any mention of anything that would indicate that he changed that and made it?
Again, in one of the captain's entries, the Vesk commander of the ship offered secure containment for this weapon that he wasn't willing to give to the Vesk to take back to the facility with the crew, but he wanted to stay on board and try and get the ship working again, which makes sense, right? Also, he knew Shakos had locked herself in.
Yeah. So I'm starting to get the timeline of events, I think, pretty clear in my head.
Mm-hmm. And obviously he has then secured this Vesk case, right? With the 2 remaining samples.
And quite reasonably put it somewhere not super obvious.
Which is why Shakos, when she said weapons crate, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, it's okay, we found the weapons. And she was like, what? Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything indicating any other presences? Because obviously we know there were greys, but I don't know greys.
There is a sensor blackout. The ship was hit by an EMP of some kind and breached. The breach wasn't detected. It just is the term. It was breached, right? They were boarded, right? And that was a unknown element. There's very little, almost like logs were interrupted, right? At that particular period of time.
Is there any indication that they continued after that, or is that sort of like when they'll start to...
The email was dated after that. Right?
Very soon after, or...
Yes. Very
As
soon.
in while this was ongoing, probably.
Yes. The infection and the Vesk help. So, 4 people from Mystery Craft on board. Infection breaks out. Yep, red cylinders. Infection breaks. Then at some point after that, Vesk help. And then Vesk take away the crew, the actual crew, except the captain, Shakos. and then they're boarded, and then there's the email entry. The greys aren't mentioned.
No, but then people encountering the greys would often be able to notice.
Or they just maybe not write it in a report. Because,
Yes.
right? Like, well, it's a weird and wacky universe out there. Maybe there's some things you don't put in reports.
Now, there was one other thing yet while we're on security. Is there any indication of Babak having been on board at any point?
No, because you can scan, even if this takes you like a fair chunk of time into the fixing of the ship portion, you could pour through the entire log that's listed here. There is zero mention of Babak at all. Like to the point where obviously the mission recorder, as it were, like the black box, obviously would be purged between missions, right? So if Babak's ever set foot in the ship, it was not during this mission, according to the captain.
Okay.
Anything else?
Let me think.
Nico? Alex?
Five.
Yeah. Mm.
Check. These.
Bless you.
Okay. So I think what we've gathered then is that this is quite an unlikely chain of events, right?
Mm.
I'm not saying that I don't trust what is written down here at all. I'm not saying that at all because I think it actually might well be an accurate representation of what happened, at least in the most literal sense. But the Vesk, it's Obsidian Star thingy.
Matva. It's Matva.
Right. So Matva happens to right. They take on board, performing their cover story. They take on board some poor, distressed individuals in a small vessel. Those poor, distressed individuals in a small vessel have a horrific bioweapon, which they've accidentally infected themselves with, from the sound of it. And shortly thereafter, the Vesk, from a seemingly friendly sort of aspect of Vesk culture within the Backworlds, or relatively friendly culture within the Backworlds, at least as far as we understand from his interaction, or I should say Zora's interactions.
Friendly's a loose.
Friendly is, perhaps overstated, but one that we might be perhaps more happy to deal with at the moment.
In terms of affiliation, yes, friendly.
Yeah. And they take away the majority of the crew who have fallen ill. In reaction to their coming on board, for some reason, Shakos has decided to lock herself up in a cell. Something of an overreaction, considering the friendly terms in which they come on.
Mm.
The captain's aware of this, and he's just like, getting her out isn't a priority. She seems to have some supplies, whatever. Got to fix this ship up.
Yeah, like life support is going to be an issue, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, also I've got this bioweapon that I don't want to just hand over to the Vesk, regardless of how helpful I think they're being.
Also, the Vesk didn't seem affected by it because they were able to render assistance to infected crew.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a very important point, probably, to put across.
They happened to have a case that was a good, nice fit for the number of.
I will just put it this way: that isn't that crazy to think that you could have a case that could just be 3D printed.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Right, I'll give you that. I think people have Alice can fabricate a bazooka from nothing.
Yeah, that'd probably take 5 seconds. That's fair.
So
that's fair.
don't I thought you might think that. Don't worry about that. That's almost red herring-esque for tech. So
nonetheless, they were there. They were immune.
Mm-hmm.
That is very convenient.
Yep.
Ultimately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their willingness to leave the stuff behind, though, that's interesting, and it does complicate the idea that this was a way to take over the vessel or something like that, because they didn't do that.
I was gonna say yeah, because let's face it, mathematically they could have, right?
Yeah, there's nothing to stop them. There's a bunch of infected people. What are they going to do?
Unless they're
Die
really
and
scared of
kill each other?
Shakos, right?
Yeah, but all evidence suggests that she, in fact, was really scared of
Yes.
them.
Mm.
So, what we're left with is a story that really doesn't make much sense unless it's pretty much true,
Mhm.
as far as I can tell. And then it gets weird, because then the Greys turn up,
Uh-huh.
while the captain is sort of failing and he's being overcome by this sickness.
Mhm.
One of the most mysterious and elusive races in existence sneaks on board to do God knows what. And presumably the cause of like the Captain Sept's infection was that were the 4 individuals that they
Now,
picked up.
their identities couldn't be tracked because they're obviously comms dark on this ship.
Yeah.
So that is something you could run eventually, but you'd need to get one of the ships into the galactic contact network again. So you need to get in range of like a relay
And perhaps
communication
able to
station.
find out who the individuals were that were brought on that ship.
Yep.
Is that we have
Like,
enough information to do
What
that?
I mean is you could run their bioscans, right? Through
True.
the steward database if you wanted, because that's like the police records. You are still technically deputized.
I am. I was
Yeah.
actually thinking about this earlier today.
Like, just this is a thing that
Which is another thing. You know what I'm going to do, right?
well,
I'm commandeering this fucking vehicle, right?
just anybody that tries to fly by, lean out the window, hold your breath, hold out your holographic badge. It's okay, I've commandeered the vehicle. And then they explain that sound doesn't travel in the vacuum and they can't hear you. So
I'll just put it up the window and just gesture towards it. Yeah, so, okay.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to tell you, based on what you've read, but like you'd easily the only thing about them not running the who the hell are these guys test through their steward systems is because it would give away their position and they're already vulnerable.
I actually just thought of a couple of things. So, quickly, what did they know about the bioweapon? Was it a known weapon?
No.
No. So this
Like,
is something new to
They
us.
didn't get a chance to run any scans. There's like zero
Ah,
evidence of what the thing can do. It's purely the fact that the captain witnessed what it did to the crew and how quickly that he was able to ascertain that the Vesk were not affected.
or at least were much more resilient and
Or
perhaps-
protected better, right? Like,
Yeah,
it
they
just-
might even have like an enzyme or something they
Mhm.
inject themselves with beforehand or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, aside from the shutting yourself in, what record of Shakos is there?
yeah, like she was assigned to the mission, right? Like that's legit. Like,
Just is there anything specific about what her purpose was, or?
like just to be part of the overall mission. Like she was there as I don't want to say security, right? Because obviously they're all there as security because they're all stewards with secondary functions, except the very 4 specific like medical team people that are like medical team first and stewards second. You know. But yeah,
Can't be
like
off arresting people while you're supposed to be stitching people.
yeah, it's just her job was to get information, right? That was like that's what she was good. That's why like probably you and her got on quite well because that's why you
I
went
was
to her.
just curious because I
Mhm.
found her reaction to the Vesk quite weird when the captain was apparently unbothered by it, or at least not unbothered by it, but in enough of a bad situation to go,
Mm-hmm.
right, we'll trust them with our crew here, but
There's-
I'm not giving them the
like,
bioweapon.
There's not much entries on them interacting, right? In the sense that it's easy to believe that she could be like, easily given command of a ship. Like she could have been given command of a mission like this, right? That's not like below her station, as it were. And like Babak trusts her enough, right, to have given her throughout the years, the benefit of the doubt when it comes to most people's like space racism against the Drow.
Some racism.
Mm-hmm. So like she has made a very good record for herself. In Babak's eyes, kind of only because we spoke about this many sessions ago where
Yes, we did.
she was not exceptional in any way. She basically did what she had to do to get by. Because she learned very quickly that a lot of the people that were in charge didn't give a fuck about her progression. They didn't necessarily want to see, like, a high-ranking dark elf, quite frankly. So that is definitely indicative of how bad a name the Drow Queen Lan Toral had given the Drow at that point politically. So yeah, because they were mostly seen as space pirates, right, or arms dealers themselves. So not great.
But
But
she's back now, so.
But right, and so it seems from Babak's intel, and the Shakos being there isn't the most unlikely of scenario, because if she has any like Drow contacts with the arms dealings, right?
Yeah.
But then that would imply that they were
thinking
aware of it.
that because her reaction was so weird, was like, is there something she knows that the captain didn't, or is the captain somehow in something, and that therefore she was terrified, but he was just like, oh no, this is fine. I've got dealings with these people. So that was my main sort of concern, was like, why did Shakos react by basically going, oh fuck, we're under attack, when
right? So another thing as well is just psychologically, she doesn't take to many spaceship travels, right? She likes to be stationed somewhere and work there for a while.
Yeah, so she's probably not.
Yeah, you could say travel sick, right? Like, if you wanted to say that for like a very summary way of putting it, or succinct way of putting it.
She is obviously perhaps at her, not at her most vulnerable, but she's in an environment which she perhaps doesn't want to be in.
Yeah, and like that's reminiscent from the time you spent with her on the ship as well. Wasn't a great experience for her, right? Crashing, and then being stuck in a box for half the trip to getting through the deserts. Yeah,
that was the thing.
She isn't great in confined spaces, and yet she chose to confine herself, which should maybe give you an idea of what.
Yeah, she was very, very scared.
And it's not the first time she's done this, obviously, with Aspis. No, not Aspis, I'm mixing my A's. Absalom.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Absalom. So yeah.
So, I think then I have most of the information I kind of was looking for then, aside from basically was someone orchestrating this, which obviously is not going to be in the files, but if they were, what the hell did they achieve, right? Doesn't seem that they got anything out of this.
Also,
a small number of infected people.
It doesn't say who the assumed buyer for this weapon was. Because obviously if it was being punted to somebody, you would expect there to be a recipient, especially in the middle of the diaspora.
Could simply be that the people who were shipping it didn't actually even know who they were meeting.
Right, exactly.
It might be that hush because it could be someone like Edgar. Christ.
Yeah, could be. Plus, these people could just be 4 randos as couriers, right? Given like a fancy glide ship or some shit like that.
So
there's
no
record. There's also no record of what happened to their ship.
That's intriguing.
Yeah,
the ship was described as being very unusual.
So it's unusual geometry just means it's hard to like read on radar, right? So like the sensors would have had a difficult time knowing it was there. So
was there anything that might lead one to assume that it was perhaps not of human construction? Like, is there anything that might lead us to think that
there was no information on that at all. They were basically recovered, and because they weren't exactly gracious guests, right? There was, not really enough time to say, okay, go scout out the ship, because then when they were put in medical, there was very little time that passed from them being put in medical. And then once they, somebody could have used the med bay, and then maybe walked away to check the results, and that would be enough of an opening for somebody to, make a move.
Yeah.
And then problems, right? So that's a thing. The other thing is the mission statement within the file.
Oh.
is that they were there to gather information on, obviously, like potential allegiances between the Oxians, Vesk, Aspis, and the Dragons.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But that's a generic mission statement, right? It's basically go learn what you can learn and come back, because we suspect any of that is possible based on the traffic to this area. But then the other thing that you need to keep in mind is traffic is messed up because the Starstone's not in the same place.
Yeah.
So like when people assume they can go to Absalom, like all drift calculations were based on the Starstone being in a certain place. And now like that shifted the drift gravity, you know? So everything's pulled towards Octurne now. So yeah, like you could imagine that a ship would try and jump from like, you know, Castroval all the way to like I don't know, one of the random planets we never talk about. Which is ironic that I'm not naming it. Let me go to my main screen and actually remember their names. Like Britheda, right? If you were going to jump from like, you know, even if it was Abalon to Britheda, and your calculations were 1, 2, plus 3. Now that you're doing that, you might end up apostate, right? Or like in the middle of fucking nowhere. So who's to say these guys were supposed to be here selling, right? Yeah. It's interesting. But yeah, pretty much very shady, right? It's a very shady situation from what the datapad reveals. Yeah. Any other questions? Yourself included, obviously. Because I think I've given everything I want to.
I think that's it's a pretty good amount of info we've just had. So yeah, I think I'm.
Yeah, who knew CC was super useful?
Yeah, it turns out.
This is when he's filling all the blanks with his own fanfiction. Yeah.
You know what? If anyone is gonna have like
the best conspiracy,
trawling the web for years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm quite satisfied with that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So you're getting all that, and obviously this is like off the back of it all about anything interesting. Now, how much of this do you want to have in front of Shakos?
I'm perfectly comfortable with her reading it.
Well, she's still on the couch a bit, like, you know, she's still in the middle of a.
I think what I will immediately do is like take slightly too long to acknowledge Isabel.
Like yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Blah, 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 and then I'll go. Look round to her.
And she'll say, "That looks Vesk." She'll say that very quiet that only you can hear it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
She raises an eyebrow.
Don't know why it's Vesk. I'll try and find out if I can, but what I'm finding is interesting. Shakos.
And yeah, she like she just kind of like still kind of staring in like Zora's general direction, just kind of says, "Yeah."
You. Yeah, it says here. So the captain is still alive and well, and not well, but alive, and writing entries and updating everything after you locked yourself in.
She kind of like immediately like her attention snaps to you. She like
He even mentions you.
But the Vesk boarded the ship.
Yeah. So the events as laid out here, and I will add the caveat that this information has been provided in Vesk for whatever reason. Timeline goes something like this: you encounter an unusual ship, small vessel, 4 humans on board.
Slowly nods.
They appear to be trading in bioweapons.
And narrows her eyes. She's like,
They're brought on board. Something happens. There's some form of escape attempt, perhaps. It looks like that maybe when what we saw in the med bay happened, an incident with one of the canisters, people become infected.
That's when the shit hit the fan, Lyko. I've never seen something change somebody so quickly. You can see, like, there's clearly trauma in her eyes, right? Like, she's clearly, like, gone at that point. Like, I was on the bridge, Lyko, when they were doing this, when they were brought on board. So I don't know what everything that happened. I just know that the shit hit the fan. I tried to help. Everybody was... Well, she like looks over her shoulder at like the shuttle door, and obviously you can probably guess it's the giant pile of warped bodies she's referring to.
It's alright. I understand.
She's like, are you saying the Vesk were helping? They appeared from nowhere, Lyko, and just started taking people off the ship.
It's strange, but it's consistent with what the captain records.
He's still on board?
Where did I set his hands, Ryan?
They're in this room somewhere. I think they're in the champagne bucket, aren't they?
Yeah, I think we did. We said that you padded them in the champagne bucket. I sort of just quickly looked down to that.
See when you see after this beautiful intrigue slowly unraveling, right, and then you go, where did I set the captain's hands again?
Yeah. Well, you know.
Oh dear.
I probably looked to them for a second and look back up at her and say, yeah, he's not. He didn't make it. I'm sorry.
Why did the Vesk take the crew?
According to him, because they offered to take them to the nearest station for treatment. Apparently, the captain was quite happy to stay here with a skeleton crew to try and save the ship, which it obviously.
You can see her eyes are darting left to right, trying to like process this. And she's like, what if it just infects more people, Lyko?
It's a concern.
Why weren't the Vesk affected?
The captain notes that, and I'm sort of looking back over the thing, and he is under the impression that they are immune, which is curious.
Oh, she narrows her eyes so goddamn much.
They provided a container which he used to store the remaining canisters, which
Okay, she develops new eyelids for which to be skeptical with.
I gestured to on the floor, which we have here, and yeah, the captain offers to remain on board with some other crew. Sometime after, there is another event. Systems go down, things get worse. They're breached. There's no details of what, but I know what. We encountered Greys on here. This is them. This is their work. Question is what the hell the Greys were looking for.
And she kind of nods, and she's like, I can't work this out, Lyko. She looks at you like, you know, she feels like it's like a look of, I'm failing, right? Like this is like, you know,
it's
an important mission.
I suppose I'll start turning away from the screen, turn to her again. I'm probably leaning slightly against the screen at this point. It's a strange chain of unlikely events, but if the Vesk intended to do this, they gain nothing from going about it in this manner. And
what if their plan is to infect more people? They could take it to any station under the guise of medical aid.
It's true, they could do that.
Like, she's been quite quiet, right? She's been very directed with her voice to you. Like, whether or not Zora can hear it's irrelevant, right? But she's doing her best to make sure it's difficult for Zora to hear without being too obvious, right?
But the reality is, we can only deal with the information we've got. We'll find the nearest station, and maybe we can contact them, maybe just to check base. I'd be more comfortable doing it with a different ship, but that's something we can do. There are some things that don't add up here, but ultimately, if your goal is to infect a large number of people, unless this was a test run, I can see no benefit to doing it. And if they knew they were immune already, then presumably they'd already done some testing. I don't know. This just doesn't add up as a deliberate attack by a Vesk, but it is also extremely strange that we had Captain, according to the records, an Obsidian Star vessel.
I think she just like immediately turns her head to like Zora when that's said.
Because we had expected if anyone was involved in this, it was the Mogesh, but again, this doesn't read like chemical weapons attack to me or a biological weapons attack to me, because it achieves nothing unless it's a dry run. I mean, maybe could have been, maybe, but I don't know.
Where's the canister of red foam that you put that guy's leg in?
This is in the airlock that is.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Cool. And it's completely, totally, definitely linked to your comms.
Definitely, utterly, absolutely, 100% linked.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a good thing. It's gonna happen.
Was it like a roll of a 4 or some shit like that? I think it was, right? A 2, something like that. It was a shit.
It was a that too.
Yeah.
It was like a that too or something. Yeah.
Amazing. But yeah.
In fact, if it was a 4, it would have been a 4.
I don't think Shakos knows about the canister, does she? I don't think she does.
I don't think anybody does really, other than me and Zig.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to have Zig say what I know he would say, which is, well, we've got a canister of that red stuff.
Yeah.
I won't say that. He's still moving supplies on his own.
Yeah. I intend to hold on to the red. Yeah, so I think, look, whatever happened here, we need more information. That could include, and I would think that Azure Flare is the right place to do this, but that could include contacting nearby large vessels or stations. I don't want to do it from the Kivalari. I can't imagine it'd be wise to do it from the final hour either.
How many ships did you bring, Lyko?
A space where we do it as well.
Sorry.
And Shako says, how many ships did you bring, Lyko?
They're not my ships.
She kind of just like, nods.
2.
What if the Vesk were the buyers, and then they came to get their property?
Well, they left it.
No, they didn't.
Those corpses. Yeah,
They took the crew. The crew were infected.
Sure.
And she looks at you, Zora, to try and like gauge whatever is going on with Zora. What's going on with Zora?
He's just been thinking about the words that have been getting said.
It's a good start.
I guess in that like almost accusation.
She's trying to like, obviously, she is convinced the Vesk are probably behind it, right? Like, based on her immediate gut reaction of like locking herself in, right?
Zora's still got to be better than the things it could be the Vesk.
Right? And obviously, like Lyko said, here is the reasons why it might not be them, and she's going, okay, I'll be the other side of the penny.
Well, I'm getting in the middle, if I'm honest, because I can see both sides.
You are the sandwich filling of the penny.
I mean, in the end, it's not beyond the Obsidian Star to try new things. That's kind of what they do.
That's your Vesk Special Forces, right? She just stares, like she's staring at not like in an aggressive stare kind of way, just more in a kind of, she's clearly trying to work out where you land, right? And all this.
In essence.
She kind of nods, and then she just turns back to you, Lyko, like that somehow justified everything she said.
You could also consider them. What would like, almost your.
I was gonna say Star Trek has many equivalents.
I'm trying to think of like an equivalent of like what the hell would the CIA.
The best thing is
like,
all of this universes have the best secret police, which is why you don't know the names of any of them.
Yeah.
Except the one you were part of.
Well, like
It's the equivalent of like Section 31 or the Obsidian Order or the Tal Shiar, if we're tracking it up, right?
But they also kind of fulfill the role of secret police, so I mean, gaining intel is kind of a stick. It's maybe what they're
like,
after with the infected.
It might be like they could double as internal affairs as well, right? Because they deal with like Vesk problems, right? Inter-Vesk problems, because there shouldn't be inter-Vesk problems, right? So
basically, dirty doers, like genuinely the shadow agency, the shadow corporation.
Yeah, they're the shadow police.
So the crew for kind of do the OVO quotations, a big two bulbous fingers.
You can call them talons if you want.
Yes, humanitarian aid. The guys of trying to get intel on whatever this infection is isn't beyond them. I'm not going to deny that that's probably what they were thinking. As for being the buyers, doesn't add up. It's not Vesk. Care about infecting people. They would shoot you first.
So it's coincidence Vesk are immune? It sounds like a bought and paid for a tailored bioweapon to me.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still kind of dubious about the fact that why is that in Vesk? Why is your commander writing in Vesk? Unless there was another objective to this flight that we're missing.
Like, she looks like she's had an epiphany, but of terror, right? And then she turns to Lyko, and she just looks at you, Lyko, to see if you've had the same epiphany.
You're thinking it's an inside job?
What if the captain was working with the Vesk, with the Mogesh? Mogesh has been on Versus a long time, Lyko.
Put my hand up. The Obsidian Star aren't working with them, Mogesh.
And she kind of like, she turns back to look at you, and then she just looks back at Lyko, and be like, even if it's not Demogesh specifically. People have been turned before, Lyko, we know this.
It's possible.
People thought you were turned when the Eoxians took residence on Absalom.
Probably stiffened slightly at that.
Yes, right. Wearing edgy boy armor.
I would remind people that the Eoxians are part of the pact.
The first signers of the agreement.
And as such, they are part of our purview as stewards, and I was the logical choice, as Babak himself thought.
Like her eyes soften a bit, and she's like, Lyko, I know you weren't. And she kind of like motions like her head and her neck, you know, like to nod towards you. Like, I know. But I'm saying others talked.
Of course they did.
You're quite a unexplainable mystery yourself. And that doesn't.
I'm working on that.
She kind of like, she makes a face, right, that's hard to place. And then, you know, like, maybe she's heard that from a guy before. And she then says, if the captain was turned, if he was a Vesk informant, what if this entire thing was to hand off these test subjects? What if the whole thing? You can see she's kind of getting lost in her own theories, right?
Possible.
Doesn't
I
matter.
look at my data pad again, just
Mhm.
because that last email will be there right in front of me. Can you remember the wording again? He says
Oh,
something like, "Shouldn't have brought
100%
it forward."
no.
It was something like shouldn't have brought it on
It
board,
was pretty
right?
much the last lines were very ominously, we should never have brought it on board. Mm-hmm.
We should never have brought it on board. That's what he says. So I found him clutching this. He didn't send the email, or it would have been automatically wiped. So these were his last words, I guess. If he died regretting his actions,
How did he die? And she's just staring at you kind of blankly now.
the same way as the other ones that didn't get up.
So the crystals.
Nod.
And like again, she's like clearly trying to like put together a jigsaw that's got like 4 billion pieces, and she's managed to get a corner piece, you know. So she's very much like clinging to this corner piece, being like, "This is the entire answer," but she obviously doesn't have it built right.
He didn't make one last attempt to undo his mistake, you know. If he'd come to this end because he sided with the Vesk, and maybe he would have felt inclined to try and make up for his error, especially knowing that it was killing him. I can't say for certain, but I have to imagine.
So there's
Never
one thing.
brought it
Sorry, like
forward.
sorry to like interrupt you. There's one thing that was specifically not mentioned, and I think Lyko would be savvy enough to notice. There is no mention of that crew member shooting themselves in the head. That is specifically not mentioned.
You know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to ask Shakos. Let's imagine that there's a specific room number that I say.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. Mm-hmm.
Who was bunked in there?
And she's like, just trying to think. She goes, we split the shifts for rotation. Like you can clearly see she's trying to like remember the manifest through the trauma, right? And she names a random crew member. So let me do the maths in my head. 6 people, and then cool. So she'll say that she was bunked in there as one of the other people that was bunked in there, and then so it'd be like 2 and 2, right? In each room, either side. But keep in mind that one looked like it wasn't used.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it wasn't just like, you know, the beds are resealed every day when they're getting freshly made or some shit.
Does any data that I have indicate anything about who this specific crew member that shot themselves might be?
No, just like their obvious like their name, which is like a generic name that doesn't ring any bells. And again, if you wanted to run it through the steward database, you're gonna need to.
Do I have like a name that I could specifically tag to
Yeah.
that person?
You definitely do. They have a name. I can get you a random name if you want.
Randomize me a name.
Yep. Let me get you a name. Let me see. How bad are these going to be?
Through the data. That is the delay, dear viewers at home. That is why it's nothing to do with rolling a randomized name. It's me looking through the data in character.
Man, there's some damn crazy random names here. Oh, this is so ridiculous.
Okay.
I've not went for like a human name generator because let's face it, humans in an alien world would get alien names.
Probably.
So, we're gonna go for. There we go. So it's Angrid's Stewhoff, right? And it's
squint at it for
it's
a second.
crewman stew, is what they're dubbed. There you go.
Angrid Stewhoff.
Stu, yeah. He's my bunkmate.
What can you tell me about his role? What did he do? Is there anything that would mark him out as different?
He worked ops for the bridge. So it basically means he did what he was told on the bridge, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
He's the only other anomaly.
and she kind of like nods.
He didn't appear to have been infected.
What happened to him then? Was he taken?
I shake my head. No, I can't account for anyone taken, but
She looks like, again, another reaction, visibly, and she says, Lyko. I need to ask again. And like, there's a tiny bit of like a waver in her voice, right? Like, you know.
he shot himself.
And she just like, her head cocked to the side very quickly, like, what the fuck? She's like, what? Why?
As far as I could tell, I can't be 100% certain, and I don't have access to any recordings. Security stuff's all been sent on and wiped, but
Yeah, it's their protocol. Like, she says that like automatically when she's like looking at the floor with her eyes darting left to right, trying to work out more shit. She looks a bit upset, right? Maybe she was quite fond of, you know, crewman stew.
I looked over the scene, and it was hard to reach any other conclusion, except that he fired 2 shots. I haven't had a chance, and I'm not a coroner.
I was gonna say,
so
is that true? Ryan whispers to Colin.
What?
Did he fire 2 shots?
I'm sure you said there were 2 shots missing from the 2 bullets missing from the gun,
Yeah.
but not that he fired 2 shots, which is different.
Yeah. I'm genuinely not remembering.
I'm certain.
Let's stick with it, right? I can fact check in the background anyway, but we'll go with 2 shots, right? It's not to say that
I you know what? Lyko correct himself, because I think it was like 2 bullets missing or something he said rather than 2 shots.
Yeah.
And I'll sort of correct myself that like measure down to.
I most remember talking about low velocity caliber bullets for a lot longer than how many shots were fired.
Like if we could tell from the wind, like if the other one had gone.
And I said you can poke around it if you want, and you went no, thank you. Yeah. I remember that bit. I just don't remember the number of bullets discussion, but that's fine. 2 shots, 2 bullets missing, unknown how many shots fired, and no indication beyond messy head in terms of possible problems. There was also like no obvious signs of red foam.
Yeah, he didn't show any signs of infection as far as I can tell.
Yep.
So in character, yeah, like I say 2 shots. It looked like 2 shots had been expended, but I didn't find any trace of another bullet. But as I say, we couldn't really do an autopsy or anything. He definitely didn't seem infected. I mean, everyone else was either taken away, so we can't find out, locked up and kept.
She quickly, like when you say that, like, you know, when you said everyone else twice, right? She looks over like her skin really quickly. You know, any exposed skin that she's got. And like obviously like pulls like her top open and like starts to like check herself a bit, you know, with some level of, you know, modesty, right? But she's
you're probably okay. According to the captain, it happens extremely quickly.
She kind of just looks at you, very briefly, and you don't even need to roll insight. You know that look is he is not a doctor, and then you know I'm also not taking any goddamn chances.
I shrug. It's also possible that your biology, you're Elven, right? That's different than most things. A lot of things don't affect you.
She flicks her hair so that her ear is very exposed. You know, when you say you're Elven, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, when she finishes, like, you know, pulling up her, like, trouser legs and stuff to, like check her, like, thighs and stuff out, she's, like, you know, adjusting her outfit so it's, like, you know, ship again. She's like, okay, It looks like I'm fine. And then she says, are the med beds working? Because clearly she's not happy with her own diagnosis, right?
Good question. Did he check? Did Zig check that? Anyone who can answer that out of character, tell me, because I can't remember if it was said whether or not they were working.
It's probably a question you want for Weird more than MD.
I will call him Weird then. Weird.
Like
The med beds. Do we have them operational?
The
The answer is yeah, you do.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
You could get one working without it being like any detriment to like the rest of the ship's like repair process. You could easily divert enough power to get a bed working. Yeah.
It's not much of a hospital.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're gonna have to clean it up a little, I think. But if we can get a bed working, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
no worries.
Can you access this data? I've got some stuff on the screen that maybe you want to see.
Yeah.
What page are
You can just hit the share with button if you wish.
Yeah, I'll just hit here.
Yeah. Or
This
you
is the
grab it
stuff.
because it's sci-fi, right? You grab the data and you throw it in his direction.
No, that's too high tech. This is a vest shuttle.
No, this is the Azure Flare shuttle.
Oh no, so it probably is like that then. Yeah. Here, the fucking hard light.
The vest shuttle just shoots it at you.
This is the stuff that CC decrypted.
Oh,
It
Thank you.
might be of use. It'll at least give you an idea of what the hell happened here.
And there is
Looks
probably there's probably enough information vaguely that the captain had a rough idea of what he wanted to fix, right? To make the ship at least get into drift. Whether or not it meant he'd be able to do much from most of the ship is irrelevant, right? He just needed the thing to get back with him and Shakos, right? So that can definitely shave off maybe a bit of time on your diagnostic process. If you're willing to trust his, data.
Weird, if you don't mind, I'm going to keep you patched in. I know it might be a lot of annoying chatter at times, but
don't worry,
fine.
I'll move if needed.
yeah, that follows.
You see the deafened sign appear instead of mute. Oh dear.
Anyway, okay, Shekos, we've got a bed working. It probably is going to need stripped down because the sheets are probably a bit contaminated. But working.
Just have a spare suit, she says to the group.
Don't think maybe.
No, I don't think so.
Something. No.
Not here anyway. Maybe
On the shuttle,
maybe on like the final hour.
probably on the final, it just probably won't fit.
We could maybe patch something together. You have supplies and dip, right?
And she's like, I don't exactly want to wander back through a potential infection site.
No, that's cool. We can. I mean, Zig was kind of. I don't want to say pilfering, but
She kind of like rolls her eyes and she's like, just nods slowly. She's like, there's a storage locker in the cargo bay. If somebody could go get one of the suits, bring it back.
happy to. You okay being?
I'm fine, Lyko, she says in the flattest tone possible.
I'm fine, Lyko.
I nod at her and I just sort of walk on past, nod at the captain, and then I like take a slight back step and like gingerly pat her on the shoulder. Yeah.
It's better than the thumbs up that Kyle McLaughlin would have gave her, so that's
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I will head out and go into. So that'll be here. I take it. I'm trying to ping, but my mouse is going weird.
Close enough. Yeah, like see those blue squares?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're at both sides. So yeah, take your pick. What side you want to go to?
The nearest one's first.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and you can get there and back with no effort, right? That seems
Got
fine.
a suitable suit.
Yeah, these are fancy spacesuits where you push a button and they, form fit. They're just not armored, right? But they're sealed.
Before I do that, can I just like push a couple of the bodies slightly out of the way?
Yeah. That good enough for you, buddy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just give it a little pathway, you know.
If you want, I'll even do one better. Like you can even just move them.
Yeah.
There you go. If that makes you happier. I just love the idea that Zig has been dragging stuff over them.
Probably. You know what? If anyone of our group would not think to take the bodies out the road, it would be Zig.
Probably pushed half of the bodies into the shuttle with the cargo. But yeah, like you can shimmy them out the way.
You know, like in Dark Souls, where like bodies ragdoll and get stuck in your character. That basically is just happening.
Yeah, all 5 of them ragdolling off the back of Zig. Yup. Broken graphic. One of their foot stuck in one of the graphics on the floor, so it's just stretching all of the map. Yeah, it's a garbage program.
Quite horrendous. Yeah, so I will return with a lovely new suit.
Yeah. What's everybody else up to? Right. So we've not heard much from our glorious captain. What's going on with our captain?
This captain. See, just what we do in this situation, because I mean, it's not really great help.
Well, I mean, Weird's asked for help, right?
I will go help Weird.
But he's asked. He's asked for people that can actually help the ship.
Yeah,
so he's asked for Alice and Cece, right? But that would involve pulling in the ships, right? You're kind of your chain of ships would need to be broken. Unless you were willing to leave like the final hour unmanned. Or I think that the only person on it would be Finn and Query. If you brought Alice from that, and then you would move Cece. I think he's on the final hour as well, right? So yeah, I think you'd be moving both of them forward in the shuttle. You could do that. But again, that would be leaving Finn and Query. The Azure Flare is closest.
Just can't remember. I thought with CC the closest ship, but I guess that was really necessary.
No, CC actually is in the Azure Flare because I remember I drew a diagram. And I knew there was a reason to have drew this.
Perhaps we just bring CC in. Nope. Keep Alice at the helm of the final hour because I think we went for battle.
I think the reason why Weird wanted Alice was so that she would keep CC on track, so he didn't have to. So that is a thing.
I could help you that way, I suppose. I guess that's one way I could help. The CC had to work.
An actual Vesk slave driver.
There's other. I just don't know about like getting the whole like big conga line of ships right next to each other. You know, that's.
Well, as I said, like
probably
awful
what
idea.
we've been trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So,
like,
thing is, though, right? You can
operational enough to like pull us at least via like impulse like out.
So at the moment,
area.
No, in the sense that Weird can do it, but he has not. And he needs like that 24 hours worth of him solely working on this project to make sure that the ship won't maybe blow up if any of the systems are used.
Unless you want to blow up.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, it's a session 16. I'm not above just killing you all now. Like I've put my time in, so.
I mean.
4 more years.
Yeah, it's new people. Old Man Guns needs to get his campaign.
Oh no.
The prequel campaign, Old Man Guns and Button, Associate Button, get to shine.
And
So-
I'll be working as an architect, like,
Exactly. There you go. Or Morty, right?
oh god. One of our mates joined the doing a Morty voice in another campaign.
It's
It's so expensive.
it's good. It's good. Does it make you think of a medical Morty? Because that I would sometimes have issues like separating that when I've got NPCs.
He just sounds so much like Morty. Morty.
Mm. That's good. See, I'm not that good with the voices, so mostly it's
Oh, he's-
implied.
Very good. Except then in a different campaign we were playing together, he accidentally did Morty voice instead of super serious cleric voice. He's supposed to be role playing.
It's never good. Never good.
I can't do it. No, I
Yep.
can't do Morty. Okay.
It's a tough one to do. But we're procrastinating. So, what's
I see. I don't know.
I'll add Shakos onto this list
He
of
doesn't like
combinations.
the idea of like bring the ships together.
So at the moment we've got on the shuttle.
Just
Let me
as
just
much
make
time gone
a
on it.
list. And where the hell is actually Zig? Where is Zig? Is Zig even on this list? No, he's not because he wasn't here. That makes sense. I'll add him in as well because he is now here. Where's my text tool? There it is. Okay, so
It's just
Zig.
an idea and see what that is her first. She's probably getting like, drove it up the wall right now.
I mean, yeah, right. I think I'll leave Zig on
can
the
handle.
Kivalari because that makes sense that he's on the Kivalari. So, and let's move that over there. So, I'm gonna try and reorganize this so it makes a bit more sense. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's a bit more ordered. So,
Order.
Just I told Alice to go after that grey ship. Change that ship, Alice.
keep in mind though, she's quite a bit away.
Yeah.
Like, I know these distances only look mere feet apart. Like 50
It's
feet
fine.
and 70 feet,
That is-
etc.
They
But like,
actually
I think both of the
describe
best craftsmanship.
slightly larger distances.
at least double, maybe
Or
even triples.
Quadruple.
So there's your layout for your like. This is your layout, right? This is what you've got.
I'll come weird.
I think you don't need to. He's on open comms at the moment, right? These are all.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about getting Alice after the final hour. But I mean, we can get CC here if you need him.
You definitely know that Alice is probably more help than CC when it comes to just
I
getting the
know.
ship. I mean, this is all for Weird specifically. So, like, you know, Alice has helped you with the 11th hour a lot. Some of it being awkward relationship-based questions that clearly had no hidden agenda, and others actually helping with the ship. You also know Isabel was also very good with the 11th hour in a pinch. Whether or not she can repeat that is open to debate, but yeah, this is things that Weird at least knows because he's witnessed them.
What?
I mean,
Why can't we secure Alice?
don't really feel comfortable about our own defence getting kind of take offline. Could query flash up?
I have no idea what query you can do.
It cuts to the final hour and he's like trying to make toast.
Fuck all, as far as I can tell.
Like, and I want to just emphasize the phrase "trying to make toast."
Yeah.
I mean,
We could be trying successfully.
Exactly.
That seems unlikely.
Finn would only be able to defend us to a limited degree, as far as I can tell.
You can see if you're willing to manage him, Captain.
I will do my utmost best.
I think
I'm
I just hear
hoping-
utmost Vesk is all I hear.
Chuckles.
Yeah.
Right. What about Isabel? Do you know help? I'll say no. Come. I know you hate this. Weird.
Are you saying all that in open comms as well, or is this that Nico talking?
No, that was just Nico talk. That was Nico talk. I'm sorry.
I think Isabel just raises an eyebrow at you, Zora, and you can probably read into that like he's not asked for my help.
I mean,
It's not like a sassy thing, it's just she's replying because she knows he hasn't asked for her help. Right? That's not veiled in any way according to her.
I'm asking in the most charming manner possible.
This will be interesting. You're pretty charming.
I mean.
So by charm, you were really like the puppy dog eyes, like, please help. She just exhales loudly and like kicks off from the wall she's been leaning on, which is like the glass kind of domed wall, and she's like, "Yep." Hits a button and like hits a button. Her helmet like seals up properly again, and like this is probably when Shakos is like clicking the button on her belt that like tight forms the suit to her. You know, it's like I'll take her to medbay and then I'll get caught up with Weird. And she turns to look at you, Lyko. And it's like the open like kind of shrug of, what are you doing?
That's an excellent question. What the fuck am I doing at the moment? I'm not
like
sure
I mean that specifically in the sense that that's the look she gives you. Like,
yeah.
Are you coming too, buddy? Is kind of the look, right? Because she's like, I'm going to take Shakos to that medbed so she can try and get over her paranoia, and then I'm going to go try and fix the ship. What are you doing, Lyko?
I'll come with.
Wait.
The med.
Sorry.
What's the question of, do we just pick them up, pick CC up by shuttle, or do we bring the ship in?
And then I think
So if I bring them up by shuttle, I'll need somebody to fly. Lyko.
See, to be fair, right? Narratively, you could have Zig.
Yeah, that's true.
Zig is a pilot, and it would give him something to do that isn't just pillaging.
Yay! Narrative win!
I never said that doesn't mean that he's going to end up back in time with the captain, right?
Well, I mean, it gets Lyko doing stuff on the ship, but he's probably more useful. He might discover something. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. I do think I'm probably the point.
This is when the ship that like the Vesk were all from is actually just the captain, but with Zig's time problems affecting the captain as well, where he helped to Kivalari, and this is the second time he's been through this because the case only had one canister in it the first time, and he's been through it a second time, and now he has to go through it a third time.
Before we go our separate ways, I'm going to speak to the captain. Cap, actually, what is your rank now? What you promoted yourself?
Currently it's captain rank 2, but we'll fix that when we get back to the ship.
Sure. Captain.
I think Shakos has turned round at this scene, right? And then Isabel's just grabbed her by the shoulder and just shook her head like, do not speak.
Captain, as you temporarily promoted us for reasons of navigating the multiple ship issue, and my currently being captain myself, therefore, also, I am still deputized by the stewards. I'm. I want to commandeer the Kivalari. I think I should captain it.
You're asking for a promotion, Lyko.
Permission to act independently to a degree.
I would nod. If you don't want to give the ship back to Babak.
I'm not saying that, but for now, she is without a captain.
Shakos kind of again goes the, why wouldn't you return the ship? Like, a genuine, like, she doesn't really get why you wouldn't, right?
You said that I was the paranoid one, right?
She kind of just looks you up and down without saying anything.
And it occurred to you that the captain of this ship could have been involved with outside parties, possibly the Vesk, that led to the ship's demise.
Gives
Well,
a
it occurs
nervous
to me-
look to Zora and then back to you like, oh.
It occurs to me that for some reason Commander Babak's tags are on this ship. And he's the one who sent us here. He did so in a kind of strange manner, now that I think about it. Now, maybe that was just an abundance of precaution. I'm not assuming anything of him, but I don't want to assume that everything is going, you know, peachy on versus either. Something stinks here, right? The question is, what?
And she looks at you, like, kind of like pretty seriously. And she's like, Michael, we're basically blind with our hands tied behind our back on Versus. Without the communications network at our full disposal, without Absalom's traffic and our informants we used to have, we don't have the same intel we used to. All of our resources were tasked on support, not defense.
Understand.
This was a mission of incredible risk. Babak wouldn't have assigned us this mission if it wasn't incredibly crucial to finding out what the hell is going on with...
I agree.
She like gestures vaguely to space, right? It's like, and you suspect something wrong with... And like, she doesn't finish the sentence. You can clearly tell that like maybe a bit of stability in her life has been broken, right? Like, maybe Babak was her rock for a bit, you know? Get back, report back, reset.
Jagos, as I said, you called me the paranoid one, right?
And she kind of just... Like, I think she doesn't respond. She's very much like kind of lost in that, oh god, what if Babak is turned?
Something about this does stink.
Everything.
Whether or not it's just the Vesk or stewards, it's a different question, or somebody else.
When we met Commander Babak, he wouldn't meet us on the surface. Did you think that was a reasonable course of action? I'm not suggesting it wasn't. I just want your opinion.
Does have a Vesk ship?
True.
No, that was like a question she was asking.
Yes. Okay then. No,
And then she goes, if that was the ship you were in, above Versus, and you landed, it would be noted.
Fair.
If he gave you information to come find us, then we would have left, which means the Vesk fleet on its majority would have left. So it would be strange for another Vesk ship to show up and land. Especially to people loyal to the Vesk. Like as if she's trying to piece it together herself. Like almost like trying to justify Babak's actions. And she's like, she goes, it's not that strange. Like it's... Him going into orbit is less strange than you landing a Vesk ship.
That's fair.
And she kind of like shakes her head and she goes, but you kind of did provide a very good veil if he is. She just like, that's like a helpless kind of, oh, but you have literally helped him hide this if that is the case, you know?
If he is up to something, then he's been very clever in using us.
And she looks at you and she goes, Babak is very clever.
Yeah, I know. You don't get to where he is without it.
So, when transferred directly under Babak, in lieu of providing you, full enough, to the Oxians. You're welcome, by the way. He reassigned me to him, so I thought, what the hell? What great way to celebrate the promotion is hack his personnel file. His test results are perfect for the Steward Academy. It just looks at you like narrowed eyes.
No one scores perfectly.
No, like, it's gauges of ability. Perfect isn't a gauge of ability. And then she kind of like shakes her head, and then she says, "And now for these commercials, and we'll take a break for 10 minutes there." Because we're definitely a bit overdue, and because we kind of had a late start, I was like, well, we have a break, but I kind of want a break. So let's go to our credit screen, and let me try and resize the credit screen so it makes sense for a little break. And then what I'll do is I'll post a wee thing saying back in 10 mins, and then I'll mute us all. 1, Hopefully all of the audio is working. Let's do it quick. Okay, yeah, it should be fine. So, welcome to part 2 of the Fragments of Eternity, session 69.
69.
Thank you, part 2. And it is the 21st of September 2020. I'm Ryan, the GM. Here's some players.
Hi, it's me, Alex, and I'll be playing Weird, the Android Mechanic, still.
Hi. It's me, Nico. I'll be playing Zora, best captain.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. I am Colin, and I will be playing Lyko, the Barai human operative space cop dude guy extraordinaire.
Lad.
Absolute lad.
Space lad.
Space lad. Like he in the lad scale, he's somewhere between
Yes and no.
Cheeky Vento and
Cheeky Nando's.
yeah, and a Cheeky Nando's. Somewhere between a Cheeky Vento and a Cheeky Nando's.
Oh dear.
So
That's-
work out where that is and get back to me.
Is it the woman in the middle holding them both? Is that it?
That sounds appalling.
Yeah, but it also feels
Like,
accurate.
Oh, I'm just going for a wee Nando's and I'm fucking hammered while I eat it. Oh god, can you imagine anything worse? Nando's is bleak enough.
So anyway, if Nando's wish to sponsor this stream, please do.
I like spicy food, and people are like, "Oh, you just don't like it." No, like people tell me I have like a fucking leather mouth or an asbestos mouth. I am impervious to most hot food.
And what you may or may not collect in your own time is your own business, right? Like, you know.
And
Food,
Nando's is
spicy
not.
food.
Nando's
Oh, yeah,
isn't
it's-
spicy. It's just hot. There's no flavor. It's not pleasant. It's just like, what if your chicken stung you?
What have we unleashed? This is horrible. So, back
I
in the
like
game.
It's too expensive for what it is.
It is.
Yes.
I'll give you that much. I will
They're
weigh
one
in
of
on
the
it.
companies that actively, in recent years, has made the veggie and vegan range worse.
Hmm.
Just,
That's
I think they've
horrible.
added more options, but they're all shit. And got rid of the only decent one.
Is it a discouragement tactic, maybe?
I don't know what it is.
Like,
Um,
here are more options, but they're all worse than the options we had previously.
An anniversary.
So, anyway though, back in this game, that thing we do sometimes, where
Back
we're
in the
actually in the game,
What's a game?
game. So yes, anyway, I think, does your captain have some thoughts to share, Zora? Are you going to share that with the crew, or is this just Nico's thoughts?
I guess I'll at least bring up the theory. The Lyko and Shakos since he's here.
I mean, you've got open comms with it, like, the immediate
No,
away
no.
team, so you can shut it off and have specific chats if you want.
No, well, I'll say it like, well, is Lyko in here yet? He's getting uniforms, so is he away?
Yeah, like, she's already, like, Shaka's already suited and booted.
Yeah,
Right,
she's
cool.
suited.
Right, so I missed that part then. Okay.
Yeah, evidently.
Uh,
Too busy thinking about Vesk conquering.
Yeah, exactly. How should I take over this world? She's on to me.
Secret to Mogesh the whole time.
So I guess might as well share what I've been thinking. Just call it a theory, call it paranoia.
Call it come back.
What if Babak was the buyer?
Yeah.
Shaka's
Okay.
just raises an eyebrow.
I mean, I can understand it, but have some misgivings about Vesk and probably, quite frankly, me at this point in time, Chakos, but just is out like.
She puts her hand up, right? Like, you know, and she says, "You've done nothing wrong by me." And, like, that's it. That's all you get, right?
We'll get a nod. That's like a good enough. I suppose.
Yeah, and that's literally what she has to work with at the moment, right?
Why else would this dog tag be here?
She kind of like goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that."
Like, perhaps proof of identity, proof of file.
It's a strange oversight. I'll say that.
They didn't expect to get caught.
Else.
What was that word?
If he's been so careful on everything else, why would he fuck up that?
They don't expect to get caught so soon. They don't expect a zombie outbreak on the ship. Could have just been left there.
What if it
It's
was
easy to get
planted?
rid of a dog tag if you need to.
And Chakos does say, like, what if it was planted though?
Wouldn't be hard.
Where did you? And she says, like, where did you find it again?
Captain's chair. Yeah.
Captain's chair. Sure it was.
Captain's chair.
Do you feel like?
No, it was on one of the bodies.
Oh,
actually.
it was the captain's
I
chair.
thought it was one.
Was
of
it
the-
captain's
yeah,
chair?
It was the captain's
we were
chair.
over that last session. I thought it was a body.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. It's just because there was a pile of bodies around the captain's chair. That's all. That used to also count Lyco amongst them.
That's rude.
Perhaps it was planted, but none of this adds up. Like it doesn't feel Vesk. I'm not just saying that; it just doesn't. Like
No, I sort of agree.
Too careful.
Yeah.
it's not even that. Like I blatantly, brazenly type your logs in Vesk and leave a box behind full of stuff. We're not that stupid.
You think it's a deliberate plot to implicate?
It's a good cover if anything goes wrong.
Fair.
There's a message on your private comms, Sora.
Have a look.
So it's like a text-only message, and it's from CC.
Okay.
And it says, "We need to talk soon," and then like 17 exclamation marks. 3 of which are
Wow.
ones.
I'll send them a message back in text saying we're coming to pick you up pretty much now anyway. We need your help here.
You get a bunch of unassociated emojis back.
Cool. And I'll give them some exclamation marks and like other like
Mhm.
frantic looking
Yeah, okay.
emojis back.
Yeah, cool. It comes up seen, obviously.
Cool.
Of course.
So it's
That's a pretty straightforward
Good for
conversation as far as CC goes.
Yeah.
So
that's actually why I'm just going to be like, so food for thought. Zig, let's go get CC. We'll just kind of move it on.
I think Isabel mentions, like as like everybody's leaving, that Lyco, like she expects you to like lead Shakos out, you know, as in go first, and I'll make sure she leaves the shuttle vibe.
Yeah.
So Isabel gestures
okay.
for you to take the lead, and then like she like helps like grab Shakos by the shoulders and just like pivot her towards the door, very unsubtly hinting that she should now leave. And then when Shakos like starts making her way out of the shuttle, Isabel turns to you, Sora, and says, "Alice wouldn't really be the worst thing to have on here either. She packs a punch."
Not wrong, but so does the final level.
Maybe you should go back to the final hour and leave Alice here, if that's the case. Having you in command of an actual Vesk warship would be beneficial if things go sideways or if the Greys come back. I don't know about their tactics specifically, but if they have greater numbers... She just kind of like tight lips and looks at you, right? And then says, Alice can speed things up here. She can't do anything you can't do on the final hour. You can't speed things up here.
She's wrong. I don't know how you operate the final hour.
I mean, the thing is though, she's just made the assumption it's your Vesk ship though, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Or an
So-
unreasonable assumption.
Right? So
Maybe I'll need like a crash course. At
you're
some
a captain
point.
rank 2, right? I think it's a fair assumption. Um,
Um,
but yeah, she says this in a kind of, you know, this is her kind of giving her 2 cents worth of, you know, she knows that CC has, to her experience, been unpredictable, and she knows that Alice's unpredictable has at least been useful,
That's fair.
right? Like, she's had more experience with Alice than she has with CC, so. Plus, Alice
fine.
is like an experimental AI, so.
CC's fine when he's got a purpose. He might not even have a purpose, depending on what he's about to say. See.
Are you saying that to Isabel?
No, I'm just thinking.
Yeah,
out loud.
okay, cool. I was going to say, because Isabel would 100% go, he wants to speak to you, what? Like, she would 100% like wail in that. But like, yeah, I wonder what CC could possibly want to talk about, right? That Isabel might be curious about.
I'll think on it. I'll see what the situation's like when I get back with CC, and I might call
Just
Alice
like,
in.
just remember the travel delay of you getting back to, you know, the final hour. I'm assuming you're just going to take this all the way there. After stopping off at the Azure Flare to pick up CC, or are you going to get... Because Alice could already meet you on the Azure Flare by the time you got there.
It's true, but...
And like Isabel's like... Well, this is Isabel mostly like saying this to like reinforce how smart the decision it is.
I really don't want to pull Alice off the
it's the thing is though, it is entirely your call, because Alice will probably listen to you more than Isabel, unless Isabel mentions ice cream. So, like, realistically, you know you've got Alice loyal to you, right? Unless she thinks there's a better way to help the crew, because you taught her that. So,
well, I guess yes,
I
still
respect
going after
that.
the assumption that I can operate the final. So I guess they'll be like, I mean, even if I could operate the final hour, which is probably a hard no, considering I wasn't ship crewman, as a foot soldier.
she just like leans back like, this is new information, opinion falling.
Alice is about the only person that can, because she jerry-rigged it to her own devices as well, which is also...
I see. That's a double-edged argument. And she looks at you. And she says,
basically, it means even if I could pilot the ship, about the only person that can pilot the ship right now is probably Alice.
so you're telling me that the reason why we can't have Alice make this ship flyable with minimum crew is because she made your ship flyable with minimum crew?
Yeah.
From what Weird told me, it's going to take at least a day of him doing this himself. I can probably chip some of that off, but we're not talking much. He is... She kind of like bobs her head from side to side a bit. He is good at what he does. So, having CC, if he's as good as you claim, good. But he's mostly shot me in the back, so forgive me if I don't have an opinion on his skills. However,
once as well, it's fine.
I see. And she like just like looks to the side like, what am I doing with that information? And he kind of flies on ship and he's been shot by a fuzzball. And then she's like, I think Alice could probably half, if not quarter, that time, based on how intuitive she is.
You're not wrong.
Are we back?
You just lost. It was only you who lost. So
Me. That was interesting. I don't know what the fuck happened.
it's okay. So she does. So like half or quarter the time, because of how intuitive Alice happens to be.
So we either get the job done quick but relatively defenseless, or...
Hopefully, if it's done quick, we won't need to defend ourselves. The longer we stay here with 3 working ship signals. And then she looks at the shuttle 4 working ship signals. We are close enough that one sensor sweep from like a battle cruiser would find us because we would register enough signals together. This isn't a long-term stakeout, Captain. This is a get what we need and boost situation. And if something's willing to take 3 ships on, one working ship with one person operating it isn't going to make much of a difference, tactically speaking. And she says, would you take on 3 ships that you're not even sure what they are? And we wait and see if Nico's muted or not.
Oh, oops.
Yep.
You're asking a Vesk. We took on a solar system.
I know, right? It's why, like, it's maybe, thing is though, it's maybe why she's asking, right? Because she's not, like, she isn't assuming that you would, right? Because this is almost like
no.
anti-racism, right?
No, me personally, I wouldn't.
I don't really want to see the person that will.
On skeleton crews anyway.
That's no way to talk about Lyko. And she just, like, smirks.
Wow. Oh, it just goes wow.
Mm-hmm. She rolls her eyes at, like, the faux insult that you're taking at this. And she says, it's your call, it's your crew, but I would be remiss if I didn't give you my opinion. We're looking at best case scenario, quarter or a third of the time needed, you know, spent in the middle of nowhere.
Flares, isn't it? The shuttle.
Yes, this is the shuttle from the Azure Flare, yes. The final hour has a shuttle. She could shuttle all the way there, right, and you could go back and pick up CC.
Yeah, it's probably the best way. Space and such.
But then, you'd be leaving Finn and Creary on the final hour.
I'll just
certainly
probably...
a bad idea, but never mind.
I mean, need CC and Alice, because maybe I could just go see what CC wants and take him at the final level, and then he could probably help me if anything work it.
That's a great plan. I love it. It's just like, will I be the dad and take the problem child? I mean,
that's basically what I'm doing regardless. Like, I might have taken the problem child to make sure he does the stuff.
Well, like, obviously in Isabella's design, she was going to have you on the final hour because you're the Vesk, and then you've got Finn and Query, right? And then, like, obviously, Query isn't specifically shady, he's just a bit of an unknown quantity, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so that's the thing.
I mean, like, I think like right now,
his
honest impression aim is that he's potentially an idiot, so he's not putting much stock in him, and he was like, I'm not leaving my fucking ship with him, essentially, because like, let's say, like, Finn's, like, what you can do is limited, I guess.
Yeah, and you can unplug Finn, which is the downside, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, it's not ideal. Whereas having somebody you trust on board is sensible, but not exactly crucial, but sensible, yes. Because I don't want to say, oh, are you going to leave Query on board himself? Because that makes it sound like he's super, super shifty, when he's not. He's unknown.
I don't think he would do anything wrong, I just think he would do nothing.
Yeah, and that's as like, bad. Like, people come on board and go, oh, this is a Vest ship, we're taking it back, and like a Vest cruiser appears from nowhere and goes, okay, that makes sense. Nods, slowly pushed into a space capsule and launched. This is fine.
Basically my thoughts on it anyway, so I guess, right, I'll send Alice over. Did I bring CC over as well?
She like just closes her eyes and then just nods slowly, like, I hate that I'm saying yes, but she doesn't want to look at you and she says yes.
Okay, I'll drop. Yeah, we'll drop CC off, then we'll go to the final hour. I guess technically in the shuttle to help you in the final hour.
Yeah, right, like, you could take Zig back to the final hour if you wanted, right?
Cool.
you could. What you could do is
Right,
if
no,
every
actually, I forget
so-
about that actual part.
you
which
could
would make
have-
this so much simpler. Like,
so you can move from. Let me bring up the little diagram again. Right, it's maybe good to have on screen. Where is the diagram? Bam. So you need a pilot, which is what Zig's job is for the shuttle, right? So let me reassign everybody, right? I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. So let's move everybody in the dream location. So we're going to move Shakos and Lyko and Isabel, right? And we're going to move Zig there. Okay, so if I put everybody, and at the moment, minus Isabel being in the shuttle, that's kind of the situation, right? If you take the shuttle back to the Azure Flare and get Alice to take the final hour shuttle to the Azure Flare, right? You can trade. You and Zig can just go into the final hour shuttle and she can switch and go into the Azure Flare,
CC.
right?
CC could guess go behind that.
And you could just do that as like a kind of, a weird.
Oh, it's because I was thinking
Which
it's a bit
was it?
complicated. I was going like to the Azure Flare, back to the flipping Kevillari, and then to the.
Yeah, like you can easily do that
Final
because like you can literally just have people walk in and out of an airlock on the Azure Flare, right?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Keeps the. Yeah,
Mhm.
makes sense.
So you can do that if you want.
Keeps it consistent as well with the story. Yeah.
Like the final hour shuttle needs to dock with the side of the Azure Flare because there's no the shuttle you have for the Azure Flare is like perfectly sleek and built in to its design.
Just spacewalker, right?
I mean, Alice probably can get there anyway, so it's probably not a big deal. It just means temporarily leaving Finn with Query, but that's it. That should be fine.
I'm not worried about that. As Les says, I don't really worry about.
And unless he's some kind of
Shit.
Leetzor weird style hacker, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I wasn't worried about it until you kept bench.
Yeah. And such. So, yeah. Do you get any issues with that particular plan in terms of the meta? Obviously, characters don't hear this because it's mostly Isabel having a secret chat with Zora. But that sounds like a good plan, yeah.
Yep.
Gonna go with it, Zora?
Yep.
Okay. So,
Well,
you
like I said, my main worry was like having to pilot in the final hour, and I guess because I'm going, I was like, it's technically a pilot on it. He's just not here.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move everybody over in terms of the dream team, right? And then we'll have the scenes of you actually transferring. I think I'll just have to move everybody underneath this now.
Interested to hear what old CC's going to say.
Yeah, because that scene's obviously going to happen before you move, and that might change if you want him to move or
I've
whatever.
had CC be so serious in my life.
Mm-hmm. And, there we go.
What hath he discovered?
That looks right, and Thanaida's obviously still in the Azure Flare because is she fuck moving from that? I mean, she's on her own now, but that's fine. There we go. Looks right, doesn't it? Have I put somebody in the wrong place, or are we good? I think we're good.
That's good, right?
Okay, so as she's like double pats like your shoulder when you've kind of basically agreed to what she wanted, and she, it's quite like familial and friendly, right? She's been pretty on the level, right? Also like very accepting of inabilities to command and operate ships, and very accepting of not all Vesk, right? So she, as she's walking off the shuttle to get onto the Kivalari to join up with like Lyko and Shakos, she comms weird. So you get like a private comm from Isabel. Assuming you're still with us.
Wait.
Alex.
Yeah, I was like, me? I was like...
No, it's 100% Alex, assuming he's still here. But I think he's either muted, or asleep, or a technical issue.
Yeah, I'm still going to keep on talking about it as if he isn't having a technical issue, so I'm just going like, Alex.
Yes.
Perfect, there you go. See, it did work.
I knew it would work.
See,
I've been wearing. I said BRB. but I have been wearing a wireless headset the entire time. But if I walk far enough away, the mic disconnects. But the
Okay. So you heard everything though, right? Okay.
I think
cool.
that what fixed it was me simply pretending there were no tech issues.
Agreed.
yes, it was your magical refusal to
Yeah.
accept reality.
I have denied
Said
your
that.
reality and I have supplanted it with my own. Yep, it's
Mm.
good.
Red ones go faster, yeah.
But you have a comm from Isabel privately.
Is he?
Yeah, that's not gonna fly. On the subject of things flying though, I got your present. Alice and Cece are on their way over. You're welcome.
Thank you. That's appreciated.
Helping too. She says very slowly.
With what?
Where do you need me? Within reason.
Ask Alice once she arrives.
She rolls her eyes in her suit, but obviously you can't see that.
She is the foreman.
Okay. Well, they'll be here in space-time appropriate travel. You know, whatever length of time that is. It's probably a decent amount of time, right? Because it is like, you know, a fair distance you'd have kept every day. So it's probably somewhere in the region of like an hour, right? But that probably gives like Shakos and Lyko and all that time to like get the med stuff sorted, right? Med-based stuff and all that. So do you want to, like, unless you've got anything else weird to say to Isabel at the moment?
Nope, that's it. Just
Cool.
refer to Alice when she arrives.
Cool. And Alice, in theory, should be bringing the stuff she's ripped out of all the ships on the way.
Yeah, and then I'll need to check up and tell Alice what to tell Isabel.
Yeah, I assumed that. But you can assume that Alice has probably done what she can to, like, tear things out. Like, CC probably already had dismantled those things without knowing they were needed. And obviously Alice was able to get the information. So they'll be bringing the parts that you asked for, just to make that convenient. Assuming they didn't just bring random bits of toasters and blenders. And maybe you needed those. Whereas, who was doing something else, someone else? What else is happening? So Lyko, I think it's you and Shakos next?
Presumably.
With Isabel heading to the medbay. And I think Isabel just like walks up and says to like you very deliberately, "I'll take point," and like cocks her rifle and it makes space noises. And then she like leads through. He's gonna hop over the broken door, or take the ladder up to the engine room, because it's like 6.5 really. But I think the more direct route is probably the
Door.
the door. Yeah. Cool. I think Isabel takes a look at the door, and then looks at you, and then looks at Shakos, and then just hands you her gun to hold.
Okay, I'll take it.
And then she pulls one of those like things that looks like it's her belt off that detaches, and like folds it in half, bit like a stapler, you know. And then just starts to like laser cut all the broken, twisted bits of metal, to like try and surgically remove it. And maybe it takes about 10 minutes. And then like bends the door back so it's now like a ramp up. And just hops over it and goes, "It'll be easier in the long run." And then like clicks it back on her belt and like helps Shakos through, you know. And then you just head up to medbay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what's happening in medbay?
I will strip down one of the beds so it's less horrifying,
Mm-hmm.
a little less comfy.
Yeah, and it's that where like obviously you shake like the stuff off, and it's just that like horrible like glass clinking off glass like sound, you know, as all the crystals like fall to the floor.
Kick some of it away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she looks at the bed and's like, "Do I work this thing?"
That's a good question. Do I?
Do you?
A space cop, or would it be a life size?
Isn't it medicine?
Medicine.
I think
Yeah.
it's called medicine. Like, there's an there's an argument for.
The same for me anyway.
Yeah, right. Like, in
Oh,
general,
medicine actually.
I thought you meant conceptually. So yeah, she
I mean, essentially, they're certainly related.
she hops on the bed, and then she's like, "This should be able to puncture the suit." And then she kind of nods, and then she goes, "You know," without actually puncturing it. She points to the scanner thing, and she lies down.
Should penetrate it. Okay. Let me just work my way around this thing. Haven't had to use one in a while. And rolling, it's not the best check ever.
No. I mean, all clear though on the scan.
Let me. No, it looks clear.
And, like Shakos like runs over, and looks at it, and then rolls a d20. She had in her pocket.
Oh, that was convenient.
Mm-hmm. This is just her second opinion mode, right? And then she looks at it and goes, "What if these are broken?" Like, clearly not satisfied with the fact that it says everything's fine.
Possible.
I think you just hear Isabel say, well, she's like guarding the door with her gun. She's like, "You're fine for now. If things develop, we'll deal with it then. Put your head in the right place for the mission."
Yeah, she has a point. Let's not worry about problems before they arise.
And nods.
We have enough as is. Although knowing that we have these working, I've never tried, so I don't know if it would work. But what do you think would happen if I ran one of them in a corpse? Do you think it'd be able to? I mean, it should be able to do some pretty deep scans just from here, right? So maybe that could.
She kind of like shrugs and kind of like nods absentmindedly, you know. Clearly still reading the data readout, right? Half listening.
Okay. I'm gonna go and get Stu.
Like kind of snaps out of what she was like staring at us. "Oh yeah, Stu."
Might prefer not to be in the room. Maybe you would prefer to be. I don't know, but
She like shakes her head, and then like pulls one of the guns out of like the holsters that she's like fashioned from the suit. Because obviously she got two guns now, you know. One of them fits in the suit holster, and she kind of like she goes, "No, I'll come too. I'll help. I like Stu."
easier that way.
And like you can tell she's doing that kind of, "No, I'm gonna be useful," you know. Like, I can do this. I got this. I'm steward material, you know.
Isabel, if you're quite happy with it, do you mind staying sort of around here? Because we'll only be gone a minute.
She just looks at you. She goes, "Not happy with anything that's happened recently, but I'll stay here. If you're gone longer than a minute, I'll just wait longer."
I
Just stares blankly at you.
your weird literalness, but yeah, that's great. Thank you. Jackass, shall we?
And I think like there's a private channel opened between you and Isabel for your comms and your suits. And she just says, "If you can give her a win, she needs it." And then just disconnects. Hence, maybe Isabel seems very like, yeah, like, and I think it's just Isabel being very like matter of factly, "I will be kind of useless right now. Shakos needs to help," you know.
Yeah. Okay, well we'll head out and
yeah, and there's nothing stopping, right? Like you just head out, go downstairs. It's only
maybe a bit of a wander, so it'll probably take a few minutes, but
yeah, I think while that's happening, we can maybe cut back to the captain as he's on the Azure Flare for like the handover, right? Mm-hmm. Had the scene of the shuttle docking.
Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you've docked. Zig's very happy with the docking procedure as planned.
Well
He's-
done, Medkit.
He replies accurately for the portrayal of his character,
Yes.
and then he's like, "Where'd you head? To the bridge? To the like the other like docking port? Like, you gonna go look for CC?"
Yeah, I would do the messaging thing, ask him where he is, and tell him I've arrived. He just pops out from under a grate like he usually does.
So the message you get back's very quick, and it says, "I can see you lose the rat."
I'll be right back, Zig. Just gotta go check on Frida.
So you're in, I was gonna say you're in the shuttle bay at the moment, right? And he said, "I can see you lose the rat."
So I'll just walk into the corridor, or whatever, like just the door that exits
Mhm.
the shuttle.
And then like Zig just I guess stays put in the shuttle bay, and then you get another message that's just a bunch of angry faced emotes, and another message straight after going, "You're going the wrong way."
Wait, I lost the rat.
And there's just ellipsis that's sent back, and then eventually another line of ellipsis, and another line of
I don't
ellipsis.
say rat. I don't say rat. I don't say that because I wouldn't say that.
Mhm.
Like,
That's fine. Yeah, you can
yeah,
retract
I
with that. Yeah.
retcon that.
Mhm.
Like,
And after about like maybe 20 lines of ellipsis, it then says, "I'm in a crate in the shuttle bay."
and, I'll just go. Zig just starting about in the shuttle bay.
I mean,
Shuttle.
he's probably outside the shuttle, right? Like doing whatever the hell Zig does when he's not attended, time traveling or some shit, you know?
I've got to go walk up to Zig. I've got to go. CC1's private time. Can you go shuttle a sec?
I mean, the shuttle's a glass box. You
Is it?
basically need to send Zig out of
Right.
this shuttle bay entirely for any kind of privacy in this room.
Oh my god.
Because remember, the shuttle's all glass topped, remember?
Yeah, I won't say that then.
Mhm.
I'll just go.
just take the right box to a different room.
Yeah.
It looked weird, but you don't have to explain. You're the captain.
Zig, can you go look
Double
for
captain.
see if CC's in the kitchen?
You get a message, obviously, that says, "I'm not in the kitchen though, I'm in this crate."
just CC.
And then Zig just, I guess, says, "Okay," weirdly, and then just walks away, like shaking his head. And then, yeah, you're alone in the shuttle bay.
No, that Zig, can you understand what he says when he?
Or the fact that he's been messaging you privately anyway.
Yeah, I don't get it. Right, then as soon as he leaves, I'll just be like, what, like horns up, you know, like,
Mhm.
like just the John Travolta.
Yeah, and then like some random assorted crates in the back. Just one of them like slowly like pushes forward and forward until it like falls on the floor, and you hear lots of angry chirping inside.
Oh, great.
And then he just like rolls out with a bunch of like rappers. I don't mean actual like performance artists. I mean,
I know what I mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, like,
Yeah.
like energy bar rappers
Mhm.
or something, probably. It's
And then
probably
it just-
get your old stash.
and he just burps. That's all. He just burps and looks up at you.
What is it?
And he kind of,
What is-
he kind of like, he stands up very quickly, and then like does that thing where like one of his feet kind of like, you know, he like dances on his toe a little bit with one of his feet. You know, like that awkward. Oh God, what's this? And then like his like hands start like tapping against each other like awkwardly, like he's like anxious, and he looks up at you, and he kind of like motions for you to like lean down.
Oh, Lyndon. Getting bitten in the face or something, probably. I would think
And
that.
then he starts going like very like calm, but yet still slightly erratic for CC. Like he's explaining some kind of really deep and meaningful thing.
CC, I can't understand.
He puts up a finger as if don't interrupt, and then he continues very methodically, and like this goes on for like 5 minutes,
Nodding.
and then
He's talking.
it comes up. I made you a gift on your com in text as the translation.
Okay. Yes.
So it took like 5 probably horribly painful minutes of knowing nothing about what he's talking about. And it says he made you a gift. And then he hands you a device that looks like an electronic spoon. And just like presents it like it's some glorious weapon.
I would get it. What is this magnificent utensil?
And he kind of points at it and then points at you and gives you a thumbs up.
You call me a spoon?
And he kind of like shakes his head back and forth and then it's like, you know, points at the spoon and points at you.
Yeah, it's mine.
And gives you
Thank
thumbs.
you.
He then gives you 2 thumbs up and then like runs through your legs and like runs out of the shuttlebee.
Does it have any buttons?
It has one
It's
big
easy.
button.
CC, get back
It
here.
has one big button on it.
I'm pressing the button. I'm actually using the CC, but I'm pressing the button too.
Right, okay. You press the button and there is like a pneumatic noise and like the spoon head flies off and digs into the wall of the shuttlebee.
Nice.
Nice.
The gun.
It's a spoon gun.
Button. Nice. I'll try and grab the spoon head.
It's pretty in there actually. Like,
Like a one shot done. That's it.
I mean it was literally like you know you get those compressed air knives like special forces have. No, do you not know that? No, it's like a handle with like a gas canister and it goes poof and fires the blade off. It's that, but it was a spoon.
Like in COD Modern Warfare
Yeah.
2.
Sure, if they want to sponsor us.
Well, that was a waste.
You could probably get it if like you actually give
Are
me
you sure that is all
get
he
you.
wanted though?
But
Just he's run off doesn't mean he's necessarily
CC. I'll message him again. CC, can you come back? And I'll tell Zig to come back as well.
like he pokes his head round the corridor.
Fantastic. CC, good invention.
There's just like a little thumb that comes round the corner, giving you a thumbs up.
Give him a thumbs up back. Is that all you wanted to tell me?
And he kind of like looks sad.
Nothing about info that was given. By the way, did it look like that was tampered with in any way, that info? Was it like... It looks suspicious.
And he walks up to you very slowly. Very like wobbly, like 1 foot, next foot, 1 foot, next foot, like very attention seeking. And then looks up at you and then just does grabby hands to get up.
I was about to say, I'll put at my arms to get up.
And then like he like taps on like your hand that's holding this like the spoon handle. And like taps it loads and then points at the wall where the spoon head is.
Try and get the spoon head.
Okay, do you want to give me an athletics roll?
Right, click. Oh my god.
I think we just have CC like chirping at you.
Sometimes the spoons win.
And then points at the wall again. And he
he
moves up to like your head and just starts tapping your head.
Still getting deep.
Do I give him another roll?
It's still great.
Yeah, you can get it out with a 25. Yeah. And then CC like runs down to like get the hand that's got it, and then like like precariously hanging from your neck and balancing between both arms, which is probably awkward as hell. Like a cat, not sure what it was supposed to be doing. Takes the spoon head and like jams it back in the end of the spoon.
Give a thumbs up.
He gives you like 3 thumbs up, and then like half falls and hangs off your arm.
Place it on my shoulder.
Like he just starts like gently tapping your head.
So the information, CC, looked like it was tampered with in any way.
And then your like comm device actually has audio this time, and it's that kind of I am Sam voice, and it just says the information was translated exactly as it was encrypted.
So there's encrypted address. So
And then it just repeats the exact same audio file. And then it says the data was protected by a decryption purge software. I deleted it.
So,
And like none of that's new, right? Like in terms of like that's all stuff Lyko learned. So,
yeah, it was all stuff.
but he is convinced that's exactly the,
We just wondered if any of the logs are injected somehow.
Nah, like what he is translated. He's pretty confident. You know enough about CC's behavior to like, yeah, because he's not like a proud person, right? He's not particularly like oh look how great I am because I did this.
Yeah, he's just kind of does it. Like,
Yeah,
does his thing,
does something else. Yeah.
thumbs up. Cool.
Yep.
Like it. Good.
Mm-hmm. Like just starts patting your head again.
Quite confident then that the
Yeah.
documents are exactly as.
Yeah, and like obviously Zora can relay that to you when he feels appropriately able to, and it can go through. It doesn't matter what ship you're on because obviously you can comm relay that information up the chain.
So, CC, Alice should be arriving in a minute, and she has to take you over to the Cavallari that does the ship these repairs.
Yeah, he kind of like jumps down and runs back to the crate where like, there's clearly a pile of stuff he's threw in the crate, and he starts to like push it all back in because it's obviously tipped out along with him.
You can there's stuff with you.
He shakes like his head and then he points to the crate, then points to you, and then points to the shuttle.
Alright, he wants me to the crate. I'll drag the crate into the.
It's not even that big. Yeah, it's like I guess a generic video game crate, right?
Put him in the crate and just save time.
Put him in the crate. I'll close the lid.
He looks like he doesn't want this, but he's not protesting at the same time.
On the show. I mean, you can come in whenever you want. You're not like kept in there.
You just hear purring from inside the crate.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Go to sleep.
Yeah, cool. I think by that point Alice docks on the ship as well, and maybe she's like walking down as you're leaving the shuttle bay. And she's like walking by, and she's like, "Captain, you're looking mighty horrified."
Yeah. Yeah. Cece's in the crate.
Cece's in the crate. She just like salutes you and nods like completely blankly. What does that mean?
He's and have go to Cavallari that repairs and does like point all the probably parts that she's dragging.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can see like she's got like a big backpack thing full of stuff she's clearly just jammed in it. Probably looks akin to like Rey from horrible new Star Wars, apparently, according to the entire internet.
Well, you know about that. CC's going as well. He's in the crate. I would tap it gently.
I thought that was on the shuttle.
I'm outside the shuttle right now.
Yeah, the shuttle bay, yeah. And she's like, "Okay, is he staying in the crate? Should I be in the crate?"
You need to fly the shuttle.
Okay, that makes sense.
He just I don't know, wake him up. Tell Lyko to deal with him.
Oh wow.
I mean, to the next best option, deal with him.
She kind of goes, "Lyko is in charge of CC. I understand, Captain."
Yep. Granted, it's his ship.
Oh, do I get a ship?
Oh God, she's been ship for ages. handy. We've not got enough ships yet. Seems to work out that way.
She kind of nods. She's like, okay, one day. She like does that thing with her hand where she's like, I have marked this, that you have said this.
I can't stop her getting a ship later.
Mm.
She's an independent.
Yeah.
You don't need
Hologram.
no man.
Yep. And she goes, anything I should know about going into this?
A few dead bodies.
She's like,
What is that deed?
she shrugs at that.
The best tell everybody that there's some foam in a jar in the airlock.
Foam in a jar in the airlock. CC in a crate in the shuttle. Gotcha.
Tell Lyco that none of the files are tampered with.
None of the files are tampered with.
Yes.
CC in a jar in an airlock. Gotcha.
CC has nothing to get cool. Thumbs up.
She just finger guns you. And she smiles. She probably winks as well, right? And then when she's walking away, probably looks awkward as fuck. Like, why did I wink at him? Because Alice is weird. And then she heads to the shuttle.
And I guess I would hit the shuttle.
Yeah, so like you trade places. Right, so obviously, do you have anything you want to do in the final hour out of interest, scene-wise, that you want to checkpoint now?
Not at the moment.
Okay, so we'll have the scene on the Kivalara then. Okay, Lyco, you've got to the room, and you can get the body back up to the med bay if you want. That can all have happened unless there's stuff you want to have happen on the way.
No, I think it's good. Let's get that happened.
Yeah, so that can be moved. You can have dumped him on the med bed and stuff. Yeah. Very kind of like, matter of factly, quite frankly.
Yeet.
Yeah, right. She's you can tell she's upset by this, but she's obviously doing he can give us answers, so at least he can still serve a purpose in death, blah 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 vibes, right? So she I'll move us back to the other map just for visuals. For no reason other than just we have a map for it, so I moved myself because I didn't decide to do that. That was fun. And then put us back into the actual med bay. There we go. Right, so back in med bay. Yeah.
Yes.
So besides the big pile of bodies and whatnot, we've got obviously this guy put on the first bed, and luckily there's a body there, so I don't need to edit the graphic. How handy!
Well, imagine that.
Yeah, right.
Other one is now located
Elsewhere. Yeah, on the floor. Yep. And
double rep to him, frankly.
Yes. So I think when you come back, like Isabella just like obviously does what she can to help you with this situation. But yeah, you're pretty much in the lead here, Lyco. So what to do?
Okay. So he's plunked down on it, and I will make. Is medicine the applicable one when you're dealing with a dead body as well? I would say so.
I think so, right? Like, I think it's to get an idea, because it's like the med bay is kind of doing all the work, right? The med bay is doing the work, so you don't need to do computers for that, right?
It's worse. It's even worse.
I think it's just that, again, you don't know enough about the medical data, right? To put this into context, you'd need somebody that's a bit more proficient with that. I think like Shakos can look at it, because Shakos has like field medic training, but she doesn't have autopsy training, right?
I will actually ask her to do that as much as I would have preferred not to. I think I'll just
I'll roll. That's fine.
I'll
throw a wee cheeky.
Yeah.
Well, but I think that fits, regardless of her modifier. I think that fits quite well with her. I'm not a coroner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
It's like, from everything I see here, he died. And she kind of looks at you, shrugs. And she taps the bit that just says infection equals 0, right? Or NA. And she goes, that's maybe good. And she points at the infection equals NA. And she's like, shrugs.
It's a good sign, but I was sort of looking at the bits of his head, and that's kind of not my main concern. Because I didn't think he was, or he probably wouldn't have had a chance to do this. So why did he? Why
Okay.
did he?
Like, she kind of shrugs and she goes, when did he? Sounded like the captain had
don't know.
things under control for a bit.
Captain does not give any indication as to what happened.
And she looks over at the pile of bodies in the corner as well, and she's like, who are those people? Because obviously from Lyco's, like,
Yeah.
reviewing the data, you know they were boarded after the Vesk left.
Yeah.
By unknowns.
I mean, there is a further breaching. After the this, it could be that these individuals were brought in by the Greys. I mean, chances of the Greys not being involved in the breach is slim to none.
I think, like, she seems to have, like, a mini epiphany when you say this, and she looks back at, like, the medical data, and she just pours through it, right, like, staring, because obviously it's, like, trying to, like, understand stuff you don't actually understand. And she's looking clearly for, like, a very specific line, and she kind of, like, goes, look at this. And she, like, points at, like, you know, residual brain waves or some shit like that. And, she's like, his brain biochemistry is off.
Off. Ow.
And she's like, she shrugs, and she's like, that's what this says. It's abnormal levels detected. And she kind of turns, she goes, you mentioned Greys.
Sure. You're thinking mental interference.
She kind of shrugs, and she's like, if the Greys influenced him, he could have done anything on board. Or they made him see things and he shot himself. She shrugs. She's like,
Possibly.
she's like, I don't know. And she kind of like kind of almost like backhands the like the data screen with the med bed, and she goes, I also can't really understand this shit.
We've been in here a while now, and he clearly hadn't just. He's been dead some time. There shouldn't be any activity left to pick up.
And she's kind of like looking at the kind of the scanner again, and she goes, like, oh, I barely know how to read this. I could have just told you bullshit for all I know.
Sure.
I was gonna have her say something like, damn it, I'm a steward, not a doctor,
Yeah,
but
I
like,
know.
you know.
I understand the temptation. I'm glad you're refrained.
Yes. Damn it, Lyco!
What if he's not infection free?
She just takes a step away and then says, what do you mean?
Those things were freakishly strong, but they were far from unkillable. I put one down, stabbed through the heart.
I think your takeaway from the fight is that it didn't really matter where you hit them, right?
Damage them enough. And
Yeah, like breaking them apart enough. And it's also maybe another reason why it's like, as I said, they were very hard to recognize what they were. So
yeah. If you inflicted a fatal wound, it might not be able to animate. but that doesn't mean the virus won't be present. But then, is it a virus, or can these scanners just not pick it up?
She kind of looks at the datapad again and then just like lets it go, almost like helplessly. And it's like, we really need a doctor for this.
Yeah,
And she's like,
but it's the record.
she just like submits the data that she got from that to your like comm.
Who would be the best person to ask for medicine?
That's McKechlick.
Helpful. Helpful.
You don't really have a medically trained person. Like Zig is maybe the closest, but
He's
then
the least worst option that's here now.
Actually, Weird is really good on medicine.
is this one of these weird I had stats that I had to go somewhere, or were you actually?
I
No,
buy that
yeah.
I would ask him because any sort of esoteric knowledge I would ask him.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it's more a recognizing the body as a systems
Yeah,
sure,
point. It kind of fits in his old.
biomechanics.
His everything is.
it's just a
Yeah,
squidger
integrated.
machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I'll calm Weird specifically and see Weird. We have a bit of a medical quandary. I'll be honest. I'm stumped by these machines. We're trying to interpret some results. Can we send them over to you? Do you have a second or two?
Certainly, I can have a look.
All right, sending them now, and I do, obviously.
Do you want me to roll medicine, Ryan?
Yeah, go for it.
This is when you get to that one.
31.
That's not in that one.
I've
And
got
that-
half day into medicine.
And that 31, that's good enough. And then, yeah, so this guy seemed to, like, time of death would place him, right? Time of death places him somewhere between the Vesk leaving the ship and the second breach, right?
So before the
That's it.
second
I was going to say, the
breach,
second breach is not a thing. I say second breach because it was like the second not crew, right? Is what I mean. Like the 4 people are the first air quote breach because of the containment and whatnot. And then the second one, the one that was like they couldn't identify who it was because that all happened super, super quickly. So
Yeah, I took what you meant.
good. I don't want to like mislead you in this crazy mystery. So yeah, it happens somewhere between then. It's hard to say when, right? But somewhere between then. But it definitely seems like the captain seems to have had enough time to have like the Vesk go away and him try to like assess the state of the ship. He has made no mention of like, crewman Stu helping out, but he's not said he did it alone, if that makes sense. So it's ambiguous whether or not Stu was alive or dead at that point. And then his main focus was important details, like Shakos is stuck, but I'll get to her because I know where she is and she's not in danger. That was mentioned, but it wasn't saying, I'm the only one on board.
Would the 31 get him anything about the brain injury?
So, not infected,
The car?
right? Not infected at all,
I know.
and brain chemistry messed up. So, no active brain waves, brain chemistry messed up. To the point where this looks like somebody was like inducing hallucinations.
I think.
Okay. Sorry.
Any particular thoughts there, Michael? When you were like, okay,
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, in character react. Yeah. And TOD is definitely before the second breach.
Definitely.
Okay, so we have 2 interactions with unknowns. First group appear to be normal arms dealers. The second group we have to assume are Greys. But we saw how slippery they are. We all have heard some of the legends, I'm sure. They could have been on this ship. Hell, they could still be in this ship without anyone being any the wiser.
I look around.
Yep, you're.
I mean-
you seem to be alone for now, at least. Weird.
We didn't see them leave. I saw one go through the wall and into space, but I mean, you did that and you came back pretty quickly.
Yes, but you also saw me come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people who wander out into space. Yeah.
Of course. Actually, I feel like I should probably roll culture to see just how much I do know about the Greys, because a lot of the stuff would probably be quite obscure.
I think you did that before.
Did I? Right.
I think
Yeah,
that, but
I
you can roll it
wanted to
again if
see
you want.
something.
Like, I have no issue with you rolling again because it's been
Yeah,
long
yeah.
enough that like I'm sure you did before, but I don't mind a reroll.
26.
Yeah, like your knowledge of the Greys is all of the people's random bullshit abduction stories that crop up.
Yeah.
Like
Which
people
would
that
include their ships. So that's what I was gunning for. Because I didn't want to say anything about their ships without.
well, people
going
have never specifically called out the ships looked like X, Y, or Z, but they were said I
Yeah.
was beamed onto their like ship or vessel or whatever. Nothing's ever describing them.
Right.
But it's
right.
everything definitely says, well, I was taken from where I was, and clearly I was taken to their ship.
Yeah.
It's clearly invisible. Right? It's
So,
like
yeah,
that's
one of those
very common
things-
factor. It's very abduction story exact, right? You know, taken, suspended midair, bright lights, strange noises, probes.
What I was thinking as well is like, obviously, there's in terms of real folklore, the actual stories about their ships are wildly inconsistent. But there's all sorts of really bizarre area phenomena associated with them that just don't sound anything like an actual
Like-
ship.
like,
They're so far.
If
removed
you've
from
looked
what
into
ships
Greys
do.
in the past, that would be the exact same information in the sense that
Yeah.
none of the reports about the ship details ever match, except
Yeah.
in the most vaguest way, like bright lights, floating,
Okay.
you know. But
I
some of
think
them describe
that's
them
fair
like,
to
you know, crazily high-tech stuff. Others describe it as like wooden bullshit, you know, like
Lyco has spent enough time on weird corners of the cyber pit to know these stories. So yeah, so uh, they're generally, I mean, they're often reported in conjunction with sightings of all sorts of aerial phenomena. You have to assume they travel interplanetary space the same way we do, but if they have ships, I mean, what the hell they could actually be like? I mean, they're clearly nothing like normal ships. So, considering how difficult these creatures are to get your head around, I think their ships could be even more elusive. Like, we could well be. I mean, we could be right next to one and not know it. You know, it's concerning because I think from what you're saying, I think these results indicate that he was being probably messed with over a period of time. This wasn't all one big event.
the medical data for you weird doesn't support or exclude that. It just shows that the brain's been messed with in a massive way, like to the point where like its biochemistry just is messed up. But it doesn't.
And
Like, there's no obvious indications that this happened over weeks, or that it was very quick. Like, there's nothing to support like that. Like, you'd maybe think that like long-term like chemical saturation would show up, but
Mm.
it's like the brain was meant to make these chemicals. So it's hard to say whether or not it's doing the right thing. From a machine point of view, it looks like someone's hot-wired the door to do something different, you know, and no, there's no indication as to when that happened.
Should
I
we
don't-
do testing
As I say,
to see if anything foreign has been introduced over time.
sure,
That's
you'll need your med
some
team to do
basic
that.
test run. Well,
You'll need your med team to do that, unless you want to just phase through some walls and potentially set you
Yeah.
back a little bit.
We can try.
I'll send them a list of instructions.
Cool. Yep.
Yeah, we can.
That sounds like an assist roll. Which is something we haven't done in about 40 sessions.
Or do I roll to assist them?
You roll to give them pluses, yeah. Do you wanna
So
do
you
that?
just need to roll
That's my
high
assist.
on that.
There we go. Cool. Yep. So you get like your +2 to this, and I will reduce the difficulty based on that.
Oh no.
God.
So it's not like you definitely haven't made it. You get results back though, and it's inconclusive. I think it's the best way to interpret that.
Yeah. Not clear. I'll send you them, but I'm not.
Yeah, like you can look over the data, and it definitely just seems inconclusive.
This doesn't tell us anything. Perhaps we need a proper medical lab.
Yeah, we're not really a medical unit. Okay, but we have something to work with. They didn't just arrive at the end. You know, there wasn't just a one event. This guy had clearly been subject to some sort of dangerous mental manipulation.
Is this
Prior.
open comms or is this just too weird?
Just too weird.
Okay.
Prior to the EMP attack, prior to
Yes, this is what one of my older my previous foremen would have called a clusterfuck. I don't know why they would have been doing this to him. This seems. I don't know whether this is an experiment, testing a weapon, torture, what it was.
just what they do.
That's
Everywhere
fair. I was gonna say that's completely fair, right?
Everywhere that we encounter these creatures, they leave wreckage. And they have done enough damage to the people that encounter them that it's often not clear, you know, if you can rely on their testimony. Yeah.
Do we know that they cause the damage, or do they appear in places where there are damage?
So you get bumped in the arm, right? Shakos.
Yeah.
And then she's like, Michael, and she turns like the scanner, like interface around to you. She's just scanned you during that conversation.
Okay.
And she goes,
What?
you have the same inconsistency with your brain chemistry, buddy. She just taps it at the bottom of the screen, and she like brings up the side by side because that's the way she knows how to interpret it.
Are we like sat down at the moment?
I mean, no, but you can be if you want to sit on the
Okay,
bed.
for dramatic
Yeah.
effect, because I want to stand up very
Okay, yeah.
forcefully.
You could have been sat on the bed, right? You could have been sat on the bed while talking to Weird, yeah? And then she just scanned you because you were on the bed. That makes sense.
You okay. Okay. That's in
Yeah, and we just have this like look on Lyco's face, and then we cut over to the captain with the, docking with the fine lower, and obviously a query in the shuttle bay as you just like lock up and dock into the thing, and he's kind of like wringing his hand. Everything's good, I see. Good. Back. Welcome back. Hello.
Hi. Anything happen while I was gone?
Should it have?
They're not.
Then I think we're all good. Captain, right?
Yes. Query.
Yes. He says with the same level of questioning.
Good.
He kind of just nods, like blankly.
Finn and
He just appears holographically, obviously. Welcome back, Captain.
nothing to report. Nope. Good. I'm good.
All quiet, Captain.
Good.
Might I see you on the bridge, Captain? And he flickers out.
Yes. Query. And I'll just
Query's now like eating a
walk
packet
away.
of crisps.
Just walk away.
He kind of nods and salutes randomly. And then just smiles at Zig.
Good day, Finn. Yeah.
Right, you head up to the bridge, right? I remember like the bridge has like the kind of like the platform where like the captain stands and looks at all the holo displays, and then it's all like the consoles that are like sunken in front of him, where people obviously operate the ship. Standing in the captain's space, the Mogesh is standing there,
Oh fuck.
and he just turns round, swishes his like cape over his shoulder, and goes, "The Abyss, excellent." And then that's where it cuts.
Of course.
The big shit-eating Vesk grin on his face. It's alright, isn't it?
Disgust.
No, the Mogesh.
Disgust.
Amori.
Oh dear.
Disgusting.
Let's get the credits on screen, shall we?
Disgusting.
So, what would you like to name the session? Callum, you're in chat, so you can weigh in on this too if you want, even though you missed most of it.
Disgusting.
No.
Disgusting.
Oh dear.
I'm without ideas at the moment.
Well, let's like review very quickly what happened, right? So he's got like the datapad information, the logs, right? You got pieces of the puzzle, right? Started to work on like theories, you know. Actually, that's not the worst one, is it? What about theory crafting? Because there was also crafting. Like, there's my 2 cents. I don't really have much in the way of suggestions for this one either, personally. There's a lot going on. Like, there was an absolute fuck ton of stuff in this session. I'm trying to think what else happened. So we had, like, you know, our mechanic pretty much assessing the entire ship to make it shipshape. We had the maneuvering of labour around between the shuttles. CC's gift, again, his other gift he's gave you. Your spoon. Never mind your gauntlet thing that he made for you, remember?
Yeah, the basically get over here.
Yep.
I get over here gauntlet, innit? I forgot about that actually during the fight. If I'm honest, I forgot entirely that I had that. I don't know if I would have had, if I would have used, but I probably could have had used it.
I'm trying to think what else happened. So, lots of conspiracy theories, obviously, trying to be like whittled down. Suspicions.
Suspicious minds.
Yeah, because that's good. You know,
Criminal
type.
mind.
The brain stuff.
I was gonna say, yeah, like type these in the chat. We can vote for them. Type them in.
We can go on.
Good tune. I do like that. Yeah.
Go for suspicious minds. Okay,
Yeah.
clickety-click.
I'm good with that too. That's a good one.
Very apt.
Yes. Right, that's just got one of those. That's good. If Callum's actually in chat, feel free to come look at the goal screen since it's been updated slightly while we're here. Right, goals. Talk me through them.
Right, let me see. So, rescue Ivan isn't happened yet. It's not going to happen for a while. It's secure Kilari until crew corpses delete as possible and take it to relative safety. Not
We're
done yet.
making progress.
Salvage Cavalry, work in
Making
progress.
progress.
Fix the Azure Flare. Not in progress yet.
That still needs to be done at some point because that's obviously, you know, part of your let's get it the hell away thing. Obviously determine how involved or complicit Babak was.
I think we're starting to get some reason to be suspicious of him, but equally nothing that actually implicates him.
He's either being cleared or he's being implicated
No, he
entirely.
either is or is not cleared.
Which is that is not really an answer. But
It's exactly the opposite of an answer. Is what I was saying. It's an answer.
Because if everything on that data pad is true, why the hell is it in Vesk? I just don't get it. Man.
It is incredibly weird that
but it's not been tampered with. That's what CC says. So they were typing in Vesk for some reason.
Yep.
Which tells.
Well,
I mean,
the
again,
captain
it
was.
just goes back to,
at least.
Kind of just goes back to like my wee theory, but I don't know if like Babak was necessarily there. I don't know.
Oh,
Got no idea.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm more suspicious of the possibility that we have a Barai, because that is the most obvious read of what's just happened.
Right.
Or that perhaps there's been interference with us on by the Greys.
And you 100% know they have tried mind stuff on you.
Yes,
from the
exactly.
meta and also the pain they kept causing.
And I will say this, as a player and as Lyko, my initial reaction is Borai. Because Lyko would leap to that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Of course he would. And me
It's
as a
kind of
player,
what makes you unique, right? It is 100% what sets you aside. The way to like test that theory is scan everybody else.
Yeah.
But Shakos did not display
the way
it.
to test that theory is to turn up mid-fight scene with power borrowed from a coven in England.
Yes, like what Zig did last session.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Stay down. Anyway, so, right, reintegrate with the crew, bring crew up to date. That's on the back burner, right? That's probably Zig's personal goal. Let's face it. Probably be. So, what are we adding and changing? Right? Any more immediate goals that you want to pop in?
Yes, for me, I think personally is investigate potential Borai connection.
It's a strong one, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, that's too many question marks.
It's exactly what you said earlier about punctuation. So yeah.
I'm glad we're in agreement.
Okay. And then, are you all happy with your personal goals you have set currently, or is Zora looking to change yours if you think it's a longer term?
No. None of this.
I like the investigage because it sounds like espionage as well. It's good. It's very
investigage. I mean, I know I must have made mistakes.
well. You wrote
mistakes.
I was gonna say you. Yeah, you.
Yeah, I know. I made mistakes, and then you made more on top of them.
I made 1K. I put 1K.
It's an intentional fuck up
It's
rather
good.
than a mistake.
So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, nah, because I can't really put anything about Double-Gesh in it because that's going to happen next session.
Depends what you put in, right? Like, I don't know, like you know, propose to Mogesh, right? That's
absolutely fine doing.
Also, how did he get on board, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to assume that that's Finn's fault, and we need to get some, like maybe checking, getting rid of some vest protocols, perhaps.
Oh, burn it all.
Like,
just the whole thing lower.
As well, that like need to get rid of any like sort of fail safes in the ship that the vest might just be able to go donk.
These are good things to pop in your ideas list.
Yeah.
And or this could easily just be a personal goal, right? Ensure weird removes all.
Ensure Vesk.
Safeguards or some shit, right? Like protocol safeguards, like
safeguard protocols. Oh,
yeah, go. Look at that, fancy.
These are words.
Sophisticated. Yep.
Right, so not that. But I'm trying to think. Probably something to do with them, I guess, if I wanted to do something. But like, what would I want?
Well, have a think just now, right? We'll go through the rest of the list, right, and have a wee think just now. Right, so we've got one for Lyco, which is investigate potential Barai connection with, like, crewman stew. Then we've got Weird has established cybernetics business. You still want that as your personal goal?
Yes. That is kind of my plan for the key Valari if we get to keep it.
Cool, yeah, good.
Seems like the ideal for that.
Yeah, it's pretty decent, like, workspace as well, so... right, obviously, Zig, you can deal with your personal goal if you have something in mind. Right, general goals, though. Are they staying the same, or are we editing them?
It looks like we're about to complete a couple of those. So.
Yeah, I think I'm
Plus, if the Dream Team managed to fix up the key Valari quick enough, they could then work on the Azure Flare as a team to get that fixed, because remember that was like thrown across space and time. So that's been fun. And then determine how complicit, etc. So really it's just that bottom one, really, if we're keeping reintegrate. So I feel like that feels very much like a, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll leave that for now unless you have any like exact opinions. Because I think if you are happy with the general goals as is.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we can just do a swap around if we can think of something else.
I mean, sure. This is how it works. Right. Well, that's cool.
We'll just shoot them, I guess.
Just shoot them, I guess. Yeah.
Just tie Zora, bang. There's not even any thought. Just if only with one shot in like real life.
I mean, depends what you shoot them with, right?
Is this the real life?
Or is it something else?
Was he wearing a suit?
I mean, he had his fancy cape that he swished over his shoulder, right?
What was he wearing? An Enviro suit?
Is it better than my cape?
That's really debatable. Your cape's been through some shit.
Okay. So I'm getting cape from him.
So, like, you probably wouldn't mind his cape. His cape's probably the finest Vesk Concord material. But yes. Besides that, I think we're good here then, guys. Let's do wrap-up chat. And jump into that because we've done everything else that we normally do. And I don't know why my brain just kind of like froze. So it's probably the fact that I'm running on 0 sleep.
Go on, get up, get down with the sickness.
Let's just start with Zora. Captain, take it away, buddy.
It was a fun little heat twister again. I twist my head even more because it answered some questions and then it didn't. It's nice having a spoon.
Yeah, right. A weaponized spoon.
Tactical spoon. Fuck Dibigesh. How's he on my ship? Why is he on my ship? Give me my biggest gun.
Finn hands you Alice.
It was just nice wee.
I was gonna say, I think you have your biggest gun on board. You've got Zig.
Yeah.
Actually, like.
Yeah, and he's quite healthy. It's nice. Yeah. I'm not. I'm still wounded.
Mind thrust. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, buddy. Love to see Dad Zora in full swing, as per usual.
Dora.
Zora,
No,
Dora.
No, that's not allowed.
Anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay.
Investigative skills.
Good.
Good. Team management weird.
Good jealous.
There's a nice segue into weird.
Greetings.
Hello.
That was a fun one. I feel like I need to listen back to that and the one before, and maybe the one before that, to kind of get all the strands.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I've compressed my ability to run this game into 3 sessions, but
Yeah,
it hasn't removed complexity.
yeah. And I'm currently trying to unpick like 2 other campaigns I'm also in. So my brain is starting to reach the limit of how many crazy conspiracies it can have.
I would definitely recommend, if you can put the time aside, definitely do a listen to the previous one and this one. You probably don't need the one before that because you were in the one before that, but
Yes.
you know, like at least at a minimum, this one and the one before, definitely worth it.
I
Probably.
entirely planned to right up until the weekend arrived, and then my life got filled with weekend things.
That makes sense.
I've actually done it today when I logged onto my work computer and discovered that it's a public holiday and I don't have to work.
Nice.
Amazing.
But then I got busy sorting wedding shite.
Of course.
Understandably.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed that. I obviously always love CCs and captains shenanigans.
It was nice to have it on screen for a bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I find something simple yet enjoyable about Lyco having almost no medical knowledge, despite being such a medical anomaly himself. Like, it really reinforces that he's very much accepted his situation. He doesn't seem to have much curiosity to look further into it.
It's such pragmatism, right? Though.
Yeah.
Deal with the hand you've got, you know?
Yeah. I continue to enjoy the antagonism with Izzy.
Oh, yes, she loves her new name.
Yeah. And just wait for Alice to arrive so that she can tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, though, seems like Isabel is trying to work on the relationship a bit, right? You know, she did you a solid by getting Alice allowed on the ship in the first place.
That's really appreciated, and this is a weird attempt at working on the relationship.
Like, affectionate affectation. Yes.
Yes, and also then letting somebody else do all of the instructing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not going to communicate it the way that she would appreciate it.
Yeah, and Alice is just going to be Alice about it, right?
Yeah, she can deal with that.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that.
I look forward to having Zig back as well.
Yeah, be good. As I said, there is honestly no conspiracy. The cast members have not fallen out. It's just they're seeming to alternate the sessions they're in for no drama.
Have we fallen out, but actually, Zig is really dead because I shot him.
Also, it's the fact that none of yous are ever in the same scene together, and it's almost like TV show contracts where yous aren't allowed to be in the same scenes.
Yeah. If you're wondering who the Shatner is, it's Nico.
I think we know this. That's obvious.
Demanded. It was listen. The whole captain thing in his contract. When
Nico-
everyone else wanted to be a captain, you know, he was like, "Well, I have to be twice the captain."
And it was kind of actually not even rang.
Nico was actually the guy in the Gorn suit that throws the rock at Captain Kirk. Just
The only thing in my contract is the apotheosis clause,
yes.
which appears in all of my contracts.
Mm-hmm. You could say it's the underlying contract of the contract.
Ooh.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
At some point in the campaign, I have to become a god.
Right. It's good. We'll
I'm
work with it.
Godzilla.
Mine
Yeah.
said ideally is dead.
I'll top up all your gods, man. I'm Godzilla. Like, I'll go God on my
On the other hand,
Like,
they say he's got to go.
Anyway, to pull back a bit on the veils here. Anything else to add? Weird.
No, that's everything.
Okay, good. Thank you.
slow
Lyco.
trip. Let's see.
I had a lot of fun. There was a thing I meant to do with Shakos, which we'll try and remember. I'm sort of saying this to checkpoint it because I wanted to sort of make a point to say, sorry about kind of going over your head and declaring myself captain of your ship.
Mm-hmm.
She is
So,
the last remaining crew member.
So I was gonna have her say something to that effect, right? But there was something else that came up that distracted me and thus her. But she was gonna mention that. But I felt like you and the captain were having like a one-on-one, so it didn't really make sense. Like, I feel that's a conversation that can happen when you go to act as captain.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's a good place to put that scene, because I think that makes sense when she'd be aware that you're going to be captain.
I will henceforth be referred to as Captain Lyco Quint.
But then maybe this is what Isabel says when she maybe needs a win.
Well, yeah.
I
Anyway,
love how you're like, no, but I want to be captain.
Captain Quint. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the investigation. This
Glad.
new little twist with Stu's potentially
Mm.
not grey infected, not grey influence, but perhaps Barai status. That's really interesting. Can Zig resurrect him?
I have actually zero idea what Zig is capable of at this point.
Zig, if you're still in chat, what the fuck are your spells, mate?
Can you bring the dead back to life?
And if so, are you willing to expend it on an NPC? So I enjoyed the interactions with Isabel and Weird. I'm sorry we didn't get more Weird screen time, although obviously, yeah, you probably did feel like you had a bit of catching up to do.
Oh, yeah.
But it was cool getting that little bit where you were like, you're not even you're just gonna delegate to the delegation. It's like there's no reason you couldn't just delegate now, but you're gonna wait for someone else to get here to delegate that to. That tickled me.
It's good. It's very good.
It was profoundly middle managey, and it's like
There's a system to follow.
So that was glorious. And obviously, I'm quite intrigued by some of the stuff that came up at the end.
Like the spoon, obviously.
Yeah. I'm hoping when we have Zig back, perhaps he can offer some input of a mystical nature that might help us unfurl and uncover this mystery. But no, this was great fun. Like getting to Lyco up. He's not a medicine guy. I don't think he's ever like. I don't think he even crosses his mind to look into any of that shit.
This is why you had Nesmith Eklik, though, right? This was literally.
I think his stance as well. If they could cure dead, then I wouldn't have this problem. So yeah, like it's a gap in his knowledge, and it was quite comical that we were both like equally shit at it.
Also you and like Shakos literally being like, we want answers, but we're actually the worst people for this particular task. Yeah.
I want answers, but I'm all out of questions.
Yeah. It's good.
Although I do now sort of want to roleplay as like a house-inspired character. Just so that I can do shit like that, and like remember the cutaway gag in Family Guy where it's like, here, give me the rule book, and he chucks out the window. It's like, but without the rule book, you can't play. Oh,
yep.
So cute. And that essentially summarizes the entire character in that one little gag. And that's why I would love to play him, because it would essentially be a one-note joke character.
Yeah.
But you'd get so much mileage out of it. But anyway, yeah, the little medical drama was fun. There's some really interesting plot hooks. And yeah, Demogesh, wow. It'll be interesting to see how you talk your way out of that situation. If you
just tactical spoon him, mate.
But that's what you're armed with, right?
Kill, right? It's a one-shot kill in every ARG game, right? I mean, the tactical
the tactical spoon.
Did you ask if he had like a suit on because you were like,
I'll just fucking vent.
Yeah. I knew that's what you were thinking.
I would genuinely blow the fucking.
Right, so if it had been Weird, there'd be a bomb, and if it was you, he was getting vented, right? That's like these are the options.
Like genuinely, I would take a bit of like bridge damage to kill Demogesh.
It's like Finn, just launch the bridge, please, into space. Yeah.
Why not just try and get information from him?
Well, I'm going to try and get info for sure.
Good.
I mean, like, if it ever came into it, I would just shoot the flipping canopy if there was such a thing, and it done me.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think that Vesk ships have that in mind.
Think that would be such a thing. Like, I don't think that
not.
would be like, why would
But
there
like,
be a canopy in a warship? Like, it's stupid.
Like there's
Oh,
probably
look at this. The kid has
he did.
placed
Yeah,
his
he put his spells in.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, he did.
It's practical.
Anything else you want to add, buddy?
Radiate does it.
Michael?
No, I think we're rather good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I have really enjoyed this little arc.
Good. I'm glad. It's been fun to write.
Captain Lyco Quint with Kivillari out.
Fucking usurpers. Technically, if I'm the captain of multiple ships and an admiral, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like,
At least
You
come on.
yourself like the captain too. The captain squared.
I'm just like, I'm so totally like gone into like the guild management screen,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like, fixing that shit.
We can.
Just
Wait,
go
it's
on,
okay.
Captain, I'm
We
changing
do like a
myself to
flash
admiral.
forward 10 years in the future. It's like, yes, Captain Cubed.
Oh dear. Anyway, so we'll add a page to the game manager if we end up with the fucking admiralty systems that we have to manage. Thank you.
Captain X Infinity of the Viscarium.
Thank you everybody for playing. That was super fun to GM as always.
Thank you for running.
You're welcome. And thanks for those who joined in chat. Shout out to Zig who couldn't be with us but was here in like digital form in the end.
Suspiciously.
Suspiciously, yes. Like he was behind it the whole time. And goodbye. Goodbye everybody. Say goodbye.